1045 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. The odds-on favorite to be the number one pick in the NFL draft had his pro day yesterday. Miami's Cam Ward went through workouts in front of Titans brass, and the full crew was in attendance. Head coach Brian Callahan and GM Mike Borgonzi were joined by coaches Nick Holtz and Bo Hardigree. Front office executives Reggie McKenzie and Dave Ziegler were in attendance as well. The Titans also reportedly took Ward to dinner in Miami on Sunday night. The Titans claimed linebacker Curtis Jacobs off waivers on Monday. He was waived by the Patriots last week. Jacobs entered the NFL as an undrafted free agent in 2024, signing originally with the Chiefs. He appeared in 9 games last season with 2 starts for New England, totaling 4 tackles in addition to special teams action as well. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 1045 The Zone. Brewed up by Scooter's Coffee, kicking off a brand new morning with a full crew in studio Tuesday. Starts right here on 1045 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Cam Ward had a pro day. That included the Cam Ward special. It also included a very long anticipatory wait. I was convinced, guys, that Cam Ward has never thrown a football unless it was in a uniform with 11 other guys in the field playing against him. Good morning. How we doing?
Doing good.
Welcome back, Kayla.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome
It's
back,
good to be back,
man. Yeah.
Nice weather in store, so I went from nice weather to nice weather.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
You skipped last week. Last week we had to endure just a little
Just a
bit.
little bit?
Had a smidge of a storm here that I think a twister settled down somewhere. I think it was south of us, but still, it happened. So you missed that, which is good. Yes,
That's good. But I'm glad it did not do any damage because it is almost the end of March, which means we're somewhat passing through tornado season.
Yeah. The early parts of it.
Right.
But either way, I don't like to talk about it. I just like to say I know it's there, and hopefully it moves around us. So, and the people that it moves around to are safe also. Yes, absolutely. How was your time, though?
It was good, yeah. I always do a Palm Springs trip.
Is that Southern Cal?
It's L.A., about an hour and a half out of L.A.
We were just talking about it before you got in here. I had no
where
idea
it's
where it was.
quiet.
Is it like a valley?
No, kind of. It's where the mountains meet the desert.
Okay.
So it's a very cool equilibrium there because you've got mountains literally that come up on the side, but then it's desert.
So it stops basically the rain from coming over, basically, I think is how that works, too.
So there's not a lot of rain there.
I got tripped out one time making that drive from, I don't mean to cut you off, from San Diego to L.A.
You actually might pass through, there is a situation where you can pass through Palm Springs to get to LA because it's a very quick drive from San Diego and LA because it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, because we took the GPS and I think it might have been the I-10. I don't know which highway we took. No, I-10 would be east and west. It had to be one of the other ones.
But you went through the desert?
Even numbers go east and west.
Apple tells me it is a desert resort city in Riverside County.
But what's funny about that, though, the ocean, I guess we was close to the ocean. Like, we saw this huge mist coming across the road early in the morning. I was like, what is going on? Well, it's the water that was actually coming in from the ocean. But either way, it is. It's a nice place, though.
It is. No, and it's not retirement only. It's actually, you would think there are a lot of older people who do live there because they want to retire there for a reason, including my dad somewhat retired there. He's doing a little real estate still, but it is actually a lot of younger people now. The downtown is really cool. It is the one spot, I'll tell you, where you are going to get fabulous food, no matter what. So, it's just a very relaxing place, and I get to see friends. You know, they come down from Seattle and all those places.
Sounds like Arizona to me, almost.
It is. It's very similar.
Like very Scottsdale.
It's like Coachella Valley.
Yeah.
Is it Coachella?
And that's where Coachella is.
Oh,
it's about
didn't know that.
30 minutes outside of Palm Springs.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's dope.
You've heard of Coachella,
Yeah,
so
I have heard of Coachella.
That's what it is.
Straight flight? Or you got to drive to LAX?
That's the one thing. No, fly through Denver usually.
Fly through Denver?
Fly through Denver and then Palm Springs. Or you can go through whatever connection you want to
Gotcha.
Not too bad.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you got a relaxing vacation, then you got to watch Cam Ward throw yesterday.
I know. I wasn't there. I did not go to vacation in Miami.
Joke yesterday. I'm like, you never know. I would not put it past you to just go see him in person.
If I got a pass, I probably wouldn't have passed that up. But no, I was not down there. But I did watch all the clips and interviews, and I thought it went really well.
That's what's up. Yeah. I ain't see a whole lot of it. I was busy yesterday. Well, I don't make it seem like I was crazy busy, but we had games yesterday evening, and I didn't tune into it while watching my youngest play. So it's just one of those situations. But I saw the reaction. I heard the reaction. I saw the clips. I saw the flirting. If you place money in early 2024 that Cam Ward be number 1 overall pick, get ready to cash in, baby.
Right?
Get ready.
It's like a job interview that the person being interviewed gets to make all the decisions of how it goes.
I love that.
It's kind of the way pro days are. Like you get chosen. All right, I want you to ask me this questions. I want you to see me do this.
Yeah.
It is all set up in a position for you to look really good.
You know,
sure.
You know what also
That's
happened?
not just Cam Ward. That's every pro day.
I hope this tradition holds true still on college campuses after the pro days. Y'all know it's so much stress that goes into it. I know you're just thinking, well, you're about to make millions. Most people think that anyway, but like there's so much stress leading up to it. Yeah. Combine is one thing, but then when you get to that pro day, when you're done, it is by far one of if the tradition still holds true, by far one of the biggest party nights ever for the guys that have just
completed. Is it really?
Because that's the big test is over.
Yeah.
The big test.
You don't have to really take like real tests anymore either.
Not real ones anymore because they
you don't care as
invite
much
you.
about school.
You still will have nightmares, though.
That's so true right there, too.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's like the emancipation to college is done. Like, you go back and get your degree if you ain't gotten it already, but like, this phase of life, hey, strength and conditioning coach, you suck. I hate you. You abused us. The coach, I'm playing. It's not that. But, like, it really is just like, we can breathe again, man. And it's short-lived. So most times, man, guys throw like a huge party after that's done because, I mean, in everybody's mind, whether you're going to draft it like myself or whether it's just like, man, we really in this thing now. It's a huge celebration. Like, because at that point, you still got dreams. Like, there's a bunch of dudes that I played with that, man, they partied like they was going first round. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like that. But it's a cool moment. Like, that's all I could think about, honestly, at the end of it for Cam Ward was just like, you know you're going to be the number 1 overall pick right now. That is a cool place to be at. So,
and he had all his guys that he, also got more eyes on. And I know that was a report that came out that, maybe didn't do the combine. And look, you can, have your own thoughts on this, but he had said, didn't do the combine specifically getting more eyes on these guys too, just knowing that there would be twice the amount of media that was going to come see Cam throw then at Pro Day.
I don't know if a stripper wanted that many eyes on him.
Ran a 4.8 unofficially.
Man, he's not his.
I mean, Spin Zone Titans could get him on day 3 now.
Right?
Not for real.
I mean, honestly, it might end up being a good thing. I mean, Juwan Jennings ran a 4.8, and he's had a great career.
Yeah.
Straight up. So, I mean.
But anyway, it did lose him a lot of money, though, in the short term,
For his size. That's the only difference. Like, for his size.
He doesn't have the big, rangy frame that Juwan Jennings has.
That's kind of hard right there. Then remember, I told you guys from the combine. I mean, from the Senior Bowl, like he had a hard time getting open.
Yeah.
Remember, and I didn't want to sound like I was downplaying him or anything like that. But again, short area, those types of things, and the offense. Because he had a tweet yesterday I thought was pretty hilarious. We'll probably get to it at some point too. But a 4.8 for a guy his size, I gave him a 4.6. I gave him a 4.6, probably the way I looked at how he played. But what he does do is break you down. Now, he can do all that and turn into a Puka Nacua. I'm not sure what Puka Nacua's 40 was, but Puka doesn't seem to be a 4.5, 4.4 guy. I say that he probably ran a 4.4. But that was fascinating right there, though, seeing him have that time.
Interesting.
Now I want to look up what Puka Nacua.
I'm looking it up right now.
Ran a 4.57.
I told you.
Jeez Louise, yeah.
Puka ran a 4.57. Okay. Yeah, I would have gave him like a 4.5, 4.6. And Puka is also, dang, I didn't realize he was this big. Puka's 6'2", 212.
Yeah, he's bigger than you think.
Bigger, yeah.
For sure.
I thought he was like, I thought he was small.
He was 201 at the combine.
I know, but like just in general, I thought
That's
Puka
not
was
tiny
cool.
for a wide receiver.
It's not. I thought Puka was like 5'8".
Really?
I did. Yeah, I thought it was like 5'8".
He's listed at 6'1.5", 210 at the combine.
Did not know that. This is news to me. All right then, young fella. No, for real. Like I had no idea, but a 4'8" for a wide receiver, fascinating. We'll see how it turns out on draft night, man. We're close.
We are close.
Yeah.
We're under a month till the Titans are on the clock in Green Bay. I mean, it feels like we've been in draft season for 6 months. I'm so ready.
He's like, just get to the draft.
No, I don't think it's wild at all, to be honest with you.
I just can't believe
We
it's
have
April
talked so
almost.
much about Cam Ward.
Yeah, we have.
And look, I love it. It's a fun job, and we will continue to talk about Cam Ward. Don't
We
worry.
have to
But
today.
it's so funny. I see many of you who listen to the show like out in the wild. You guys are like, wow, really going into that draft coverage, aren't you? It's like, well, when the team's bad, you go into draft coverage in November. Yes. So the draft coverage does feel a little bit longer this year.
And I feel like next year going to be the same game, too.
Probably is.
Yeah, straight
Correct.
up. Y'all don't understand how the NFL work. They facilitate these type of situations right here, man. Like there's something every day. We may have had one day of like non-news. But like for the most part, like now Shadur's throwing day is going to come up very soon. Like Abdul, has Penn State had theirs? Probably not because NFL hadn't announced it. But like these types of things are going to happen. It's the beast of what the NFL is, man.
Every day almost.
Yeah.
March 28th, his pro day.
March 28th.
Okay,
Friday.
it's coming up Friday.
It's a big day for everybody in this. Well, Caleb, it's a big day on the 28th.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Oh,
this
that's
weekend.
right. Yes.
Hey,
Rematch.
it's go time. Do you hear me?
Round 3.
And you have the Lamont Butler. I heard Savage.
We'll hear it. We'll hear it. Yeah, we're going to play it.
Yep, I heard it. I heard it.
Well, I ain't going to lie to you. Blood
He's
was
ready
boiling
for this.
yesterday.
Blood was boiling. Okay. Well,
Blood
we'll
was
talk about it.
boiling.
You
at
didn't
7
say
o'clock this
Kentucky,
morning.
by the way. Ooh, that's the first thing you need to change
It's
this
early.
week.
Oh for
That's on
1
me.
Among Foster. Streaming the show live on
Sharp
Facebook
mind.
Live,
None of
YouTube,
that.
Twitter, or Twitch on 104.5 The Zone TV. There has been a lot of discourse over the last couple of days about the NCAA tournament. And I think one take specifically got totally out of control yesterday. And we'll talk about that next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Is your water heater not heating? Maybe your sink is leaking or the drain is clogged. Well, available 24/7, 365. Our expert friends at Lee Company have you covered for all your plumbing needs. And right now, you can enjoy $30 off your next plumbing visit. Just contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or head online. Go to leecompany.com. Their website is great. You can schedule an appointment there to take care of your home's plumbing from top to bottom. Again, that's $30 off your next plumbing visit at leecompany.com with the folks with over 80 years of experience. Lee Company has been trusted since 1944. They're open 24/7, and with their 14 community locations and over 1,700 employees, they are ready to help you right when you call them. 615-567-1000. That's the number to call. Get $30 off your next plumbing visit at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company. All you need. NCAA tournament rolling on to the Sweet 16 this weekend, and there is lots of discussion about what we've watched so far or what we've not watched so far, which is upsets. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Guys, have you been disappointed by the NCAA tournament so far?
I personally have not. I mean, I know the slow start in the beginning. We've seen more madness over the last 2 days of March Madness, but no, it hasn't disappointed me. I think going into it, although my bracket, dog, I'm hitting 29%.
Oh, it's the worst.
Oh, really? I have 85%.
There you go. Worst I've ever had.
So terrible.
Not even close.
Worse, Caleb.
I got a ton of points left, but no, terrible.
Listen, I'm at the red line on the gas tank. Is what I'm telling you. But no.
Well, Caleb drives 20 minutes after that happens too.
Yeah.
That is so true. I've learned my lesson though.
But to that point, it hadn't disappointed me. I think it is what it is. It's cool seeing the ones that have won, but no, not really. Some are though, is what I'm seeing across social media.
I think I prepared myself for this year. In terms of more big programs, big names, blue bloods, just for the fact that we have seen college basketball change a little bit, but also just because of the teams that were competitive this year. There were a lot of big name teams that were so dominant, and you're seeing a lot of those SEC teams too continue to find their way through the tournament. Is it a little disappointing that you don't have that Cinderella? Yeah, because I always enjoy a good Cinderella team, but it's not like it makes the basketball any less. If you get what I'm saying there.
Where is this hate coming from, Will Lee? Where is it coming from, man?
Well, so this is the first time the Sweet 16 is composed entirely of major conference teams since the Sweet 16 officially began in 1975. Only 4 different conferences are represented. Every other Sweet 16 had at least 7.
Okay.
Wow.
So the SEC and Big Ten's dominance certainly makes a big difference within this. And you don't have a higher seeded team either. This is the Sweet 16 will have no team seeded number 11 or higher for the first time since 2007. The highest seeded team is a John Calipari coached SEC team.
Yeah.
I have not been disappointed by the opening weekend. I only was by the first round because I do think this will give us a better tournament now moving forward. Because as much as we love a first round upset, then it's kind of boring. Like, as much as we loved St. Peter's, which, again, they're not the best example because they went all the way, deep into the tournament. They went to the Elite Eight in 2022. It does lessen the eyeballs on that matchup. So I thought it was interesting. Stephen A. Smith yesterday on First Take says, if this continues, it will be the death of college basketball. Stephen A. Smith says, March Madness owns sports for those 4 weeks. What is the allure? That everybody has a chance. That is what gravitates you. What do you think about that?
I don't 100% agree with him on it's going to kill the game, because I think what is different in everything nowadays in college sports, guys, is NIL, right? That is technically what has changed maybe what it looks like. And of course, you are seeing some of these mid-majors get plucked, and that is not great to see. I mean, Belmont is a perfect example right here in Nashville, that being a mid-major team that, by the way, has had multiple NCAA tournament appearances, and you've seen they have struggled recently in terms of some of their players getting taken in the transfer portal. And that's the part I don't like to see. But when it comes to the actual play during the tournament, you're still going to get really good basketball. And also, NIL also brings guys that are going to come back. They're not going to be one and dones. Right now, are they at particular schools? Yeah, because they have the money right now. I think there will be ways to find out how to kind of even it out a little. But in no way, in no way do I think it's the death of college basketball. It might be a little bit different and something we've got to get used to. But I'd like to see Cinderella still. I don't think it's the death of college basketball.
Well, and real quick on the Belmont front, too, like their program has not gone down, though. Like, right, because they lose players in the portal. Like, Jacoby Gillespie is at Maryland.
Right.
Malik Dia is at Ole Miss. Cade Tyson's at North Carolina. Like, Casey Alexander probably has some more gray hairs, but he also got to add players from Furman, from Liberty, a guy from Memphis, Jonathan Pierre, who ended up being a stud. Like, that to me is the tricky thing, is that it goes both ways. Like, there is a push down of guys like a Cam Carr who are very talented, who aren't getting opportunities because they've been replaced by transfers, which then allows lesser teams to be more talented as well. To me, we don't have enough sample size to say that the transfer portal has totally changed NCAA tournament forever. And, because 2 years ago, we were saying that it helped mid-majors. Like 2 years ago, we had, 2 years ago in the Final Four, we had San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. And we were saying, the transfer portal helped these smaller teams get more talented prospects that just kind of got pushed to the side elsewhere.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's probably not going to be like long term. Like, I think there will be some evening out too. And by the way, I didn't say Belmont program got worse. I said there's a lot more guys that are getting plucked. But yeah, I just think gone are the days maybe of those teams that, like Gonzaga, that's a true Cinderella that ended up being a program that is well known, right? Like, I don't know how much that will happen. VCU also kind of got their start and was able to, keep that steam for a while.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, legitimately for me, man, it sounds like Stephen A. got a call from Charlie Baker. As the president of the NCAA at this point right now to talk about, hey, we got to even this thing up. Or
about that either.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm being facetious.
I think he loves this.
That's what my point of it is this. Like, if Stephen A. feels that this is a problem and they need to fix this, well, this is directly tied. Like, the college football playoffs isn't tied to the NCAA directly. March Madness, that's their puppy. That's their baby right there. That's what they love. If Stephen A. is having a conversation about it's going to die off because there's no Cinderellas, that sounds like you need to go talk to them about evening up the talent pool as it pertains to the other Cinderella schools, or supporting them the same way the big schools are able to do that these days. Again, it's also, to me, when you broke that down as far as the conferences and teams that are in it, like, this is why the Big Ten and the SEC has also played bully when it comes down to the football college playoffs also. Like, the proof of concept is there as it pertains to what's running the sport in the sense of entertainment for the most part, right? But I don't think it's an issue. The issue is, for me, is when you get these Cinderellas in, unless, like, you've been, like, Loyola Chicago's made it in, Butler's made it in, Nears of Villanova wasn't supposed to make it that deep. But then what does everybody say in the championship game? Well, I don't want a dub. Yeah. I don't want a bad game. So which one is it? You want Cinderellas early as it pertains to, like, March Madness? Because the one that you had this year was McNeese. Second round, what happened to McNeese? Lost by 14, if I'm not mistaken. So you get that too. I think now you get a better game. You're able, in a sense, in my opinion, like, as of late, I've watched this and it looks like it's overly physical, which is cool. Like, there's no crying with how the game is officiated if it's real hard and tough. Like, it's
not as much as there is in conference play.
Exactly.
I think the game's officiated better in the tournament than it is in the regular season.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's also, like, if you got a good program, that means good ball. Like, we see teams get bullied. Like, I'll just throw the Vols out there. The Vols versus, who's the last round they played? UCLA. That's a big school.
Big Ten power, UCLA.
That's a blue blood. That's a lot of history.
Historically,
totally. Right? Yep. They had Kareem there, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They had him there.
I think that one's one you could just say one name, huh?
I know. I was just...
For the people out there who don't know
if we don't know Kareem by one name, then I don't know if Sports Talk Radio is the...
I know, right?
You're usually where you're landing.
But my point is... I thought that game was good, and each one after that was also. Watching, like, Maryland to me is a Cinderella.
No.
Nobody... When was the last time we spoke about, like,
Maryland?
I know, but, like, the history of what Maryland has been in basketball.
They were for a while what they should have been, and then they took a big dip. So they haven't been
there are no Cinderellas left.
In a few years.
If there was one, Maryland to me, I feel like snuck in. And how they won also was the madness that you want.
Sure, but they're a 4 seed. Like, I don't understand your point.
My point is, we don't talk high about Maryland basketball in the sense of how we talk about like Kansas ain't in, but we would have spoke about them. Carolina.
Sure.
Speaking of, like, Florida being in.
To me, a Cinderella is just a lesser team that's a double-digit seed.
Their record indicated that they're not a Cinderella, but in the terms of us in basketball, I don't see them being like a blue blood, is what I'm saying. Or a team that you would have said at the beginning of the season, that team's going to be good.
It's funny. I mean, many of them would probably say the same about Tennessee.
Yeah, it's some regional
around the country.
As of late, we've made more Sweet 16s.
We've certainly been better. Don't get me wrong, but
you're right.
By that
you
criteria,
can say that. Yes, you can say that 100%.
I think it's a completely ridiculous take by Stephen A. Smith. I think it's one of the crazier things he said. I think it's not lost on me the irony that a guy who only cares about talking about the Cowboys, the Knicks, the Eagles, and LeBron James is now worrying about the little guy. I think it's completely ridiculous. Television ratings back this up. None of you guys like watching Cinderellas when the games matter. Last season, UConn-Purdue, 14.82 million viewers. We had UConn fatigue. It's fair. Also, that was a blowout in the second half. Not blowout, but that game got away from Purdue. UConn-San Diego State was a 15% drop-off from the television audience of the national championship game in 2022, which was 17 million to watch Kansas and North Carolina. 2021, Baylor-Gonzaga, 16.9 million. Gonzaga's a blue blood program now. Baylor, very big alumni base, very big program, Big 12 brand. Virginia, Texas Tech, 19.6 million. So nearly 5 million people less watched UConn San Diego State in 2023 because a Cinderella got all the way to the national championship game.
Right. Yeah, and I do remember that year in general, the Final Four.
San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, UConn, Miami.
Exactly. It was not highly rated. And you're right, because there were a lot of those non-blue blood teams. And that's the thing. If you have a blue blood in the national championship, you're going to get that much more ratings. But you've got like a few that get to that point, and then you're like, well, okay. So that whole question about a Cinderella team, how far do you want it to go? You're right. I think it's just good to have them like that first weekend. Maybe like the Elite Eight is kind of where you see, okay, that's where the Cinderella story kind of ends, where it turns back into the pumpkin or whatever you want to call it. Just not having any this year. I do agree, though. It is a little weird not coming into the Sweet 16.
So I can understand that, and I'm not diminishing the points at all. But I guess I feel like it's a two-sided argument here. Like we're talking about, you can argue about two things as far as what Stephen A. is discussing.
Exactly.
Like Stephen A. is talking about the small programs getting an opportunity to shine on a big stage, right? That is madness, but it's also, for me, like, are we also talking about crazy finishes being a part of March Madness, right? Like, it's more of that than anything for me. Like, I feel like the madness is the last minute takes 20 minutes to finish. Somebody got to finish at like the last second at the rim, or
that is a valid argument.
That, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
100%.
We hadn't seen a lot of that.
We're taking rolling TV timeouts worth 60 seconds every time there's a second half timeout.
Yes, sir.
To hear the Geico pig screaming in the back of the car. That's awful. No, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So I think it's that
I think is much more of a fair argument to say that the pace of play and the amount of stoppages within college basketball could be streamlined significantly. In any game with Pat Adams, you just double the amount of monitor reviews, and you're going to have more in those as well.
Yeah, buddy. So it was exciting to see Maryland finish the way they did.
Which, by the way, Maryland is a couple Final Fours and 15 Sweet 16s.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a solid basketball program.
They're a solid basketball program.
They've had dips.
Well, I'll put it this way. I hadn't recognized them on this stage making the play that they did this past Sunday.
It's
been a while. First Sweet 16 since 2016.
It's been a while for them.
That's what I was going to say. It hadn't been this dramatic for them is the way I view
Since they won the national title in 2002, they have fallen off.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
So
that's fair.
That's why, like, I feel like I get where Stephen A. is coming from. You want to see those other schools be in the play. But here's the other thing. I just heard Coach Barnes talking to Paul Feinbaum. He said this is the way it works these days. You get a call about a month before the season is ending telling you, hey, my guy's thinking about, my client, your player is thinking about jumping into the portal. He said he gets it. It's a part of it. The best part at the end of his excerpt to me was this. He said, now, at the mid-major schools, they're having the exact same conversation. He said at the mid-major schools, they also tell the players, if you're here longer than 2 years, that's your problem. So the expectation that you're supposed to leave, some of them.
I don't think that's the case everywhere, but I do think that there are many schools that are selling, come here for a couple of years, and you'll either go to the NBA or a Power 4 team.
Right.
So how can Stephen A. beg for a doggone Cinderella when the system is already in place on how it's going to work? Like, they basically have a minor league right now in college basketball.
They do.
Specifically them.
But I do think those teams also in the food chain have teams that they're taking from. That is what I think is forgotten in this, and why we're going to need about 5 to 10 years of data about the NCAA tournament and upsets and lack of this or that and double-digit seeds in order to really have an educated opinion. Because we're still dealing with COVID years. Like, none of this is going to really be sustainable long-term, because you've still got Chad Baker-Mazzaras out there running around. And then now with the Diego Pavia ruling, we'll see if that applies to basketball, even though it doesn't to baseball. We might still have 24 and 25-year-olds running around next year, which that also makes Power 4 teams better. So I think it's more the end of the COVID year that's impacting things beyond just NIL, because these are still good coaches at mid-majors that are taking talent from other rosters.
Yeah.
I think it's more JUCO and Division II basketball that might hurt more than anybody in all this, because there's no reason to go to JUCO to play basketball anymore. That, to me, is the bottom of the food chain that can't take from anyone else, is one of the biggest parts of this, I think, that gets hurt.
And to back that up, too, is usually there's funding given to those types of programs to support, hey, within 2 years, North Dakota State ain't the best model on football side of things, but, like, there are certain schools that still get cash as far as being able to operate as far as winning basketball games or sports in general. That's the only thing that sucks about that model, Will, is those community colleges or UT Martins, respectfully, they don't get the same funding to allow them to develop their guys for the ones that's got to stay. It's a fascinating approach, but I don't think there's any bad parts of this that Stephen A. is trying to drum up right now. I feel like he needed to make some content out of his mind, thoughts, and it turned into nothing for me.
I'm kind of using him as an example of an opinion I'm seeing a lot. Like, the NCAA tournament's kind of ruined. Like, it's really not. It's lasted this long. It's been fine. And
the difference is just
people will adjust.
Recency of this year. Yeah, there's not any Cinderella. So then I think it's panic button. That's why a lot of people just push that.
It's an overreaction.
Enlighten me, is Drake not?
Well, they didn't make Sweet 16 is the whole point.
Right. Just making the Sweet 16.
Like, they won one game and they bowed out as an 11 seed out of a good conference, again, that we know locally, because Belmont's in it, the Missouri Valley.
It's like getting to that Sweet 16. That's the sweet spot in terms of a Cinderella. Like, you're like, oh, okay, you're in the second weekend. You know,
Stephen A. saying that he's gonna be the first one talking on Monday about the show that it is from this upcoming Sweet 16. I get where he's coming from and trying to get some understanding of what he's trying to get to.
But to say it kills
it's going to be better.
He's far off.
Like, this is going to be an electric Sweet 16, because it's kind of like we did all the grunt work on the front end, and now we get to just relax and kick our feet up at the beach and have a drink.
Yeah.
Watch our brackets go.
Like, we worked and now we get vacation is what it feels like. And now it's going to be great watching these teams play.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
615-737-1045. A former Tennessee coach is a bit bitter about Tennessee firing him. We'll tell you what he had to say next. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee, wrapping up hour one. Never underestimate a college football coach's ability to spin something. Make politicians look like amateurs out here. And that's exactly what Butch Jones is doing. On an interview this week, guys, he is still a little bit bitter about being fired by Tennessee. This is not something I had on my bingo card this week.
My goodness.
Talking on a podcast says, going into our last year, we were 15-4 in our last 19 games. Had won 3 straight bowl games. And finished to the top 10, I believe, 2 years in a row. And you're sitting at 4-6, and we had lost, I want to say, 15 players to the National Football League. It was the first time in about 17 years that they had that. And our program just wasn't quite where we could sustain it. We had to continue to build. That even mentions that J.C. Horn was committed. That's true. He wasn't signed. He was committed. Michael Penix was our quarterback. Again, committed. Not signed. You probably would have lost him, Butch. Adrian Martinez was our other committed quarterback, Nebraska legend. Said, so we had nailed it pretty good. But life in the SEC, 4-6, and you find yourself unemployed. Butch Jones saying he nailed it at Tennessee.
Wow. Yeah, Butch. I will not completely crap on Butch. Butch has some good moments. He beat Georgia. He got Florida. Never got Alabama.
He beat a bad version of Georgia.
Yeah, he did. That's very true,
he didn't beat this Georgia.
That's very true, too. And his 14 of 15 games, whatever it was, 15 and 19 games that he speak of, you still had losses to Vanderbilt, South Carolina. Who else? I'm checking the record right now. South Carolina, A&M, who's just figuring out the SEC at the time, too. Like, I get it, Butch. Like, you want that old thing back, man. Like, you look at this situation. He did turn Arkansas State around this year at some point. But, Butch, you also was in a position where you was damn near crying on the sideline as a coach, too, at Arkansas State. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, the program in itself provides a lot, too, Butch. Like, this was a working relationship between you and the institution. You and the football players and the teams. Like, I do believe sometimes coaches hit their ceiling with what they're able to provide as far as coaching, as far as how they can get over that hump. To say that, like you unjustifiably fired, like the way the program was going in the sense of where you could take it, where other teams were, specifically not being able to get over the Bama trip. Like, there's certain wins that you have to have. That was one thing about Coach Hype was that, too. Like, Coach Hype with a lot of the fan base has consistently competed and beat Alabama.
And Florida.
Exactly. Two
right?
biggies.
So those things matter. I know Coach Former's, departure was in part because of, the way Georgia was at that time, and the fact that you couldn't get over the hump for Bama. Like, Butch, if you had answers for that, you'd still be there. Y'all know, I know rivalries matter. Like, the fact that Tennessee fans can be boastful and talk trash to a lot of Bama fans now keeps Heupel employed. It does, simply put.
And you talk about those rivalries mattering. I mean, it's probably the only reason that Ryan Day, got an extension and was because I think it could have went the exact opposite way if he wouldn't have won a national championship. I truly do. And so those things matter, especially in conferences like the SEC with fan bases like Tennessee, with tradition like Tennessee. And you can't just recruit and say, I did a good job, or bring in certain players and say, I had an opportunity to bring in it's about what you do with those players and with the team and finding consistency, but also getting over the hump in certain aspects. Like you said, beating Alabama, beating Florida. And I just think that Butch Jones, between the Butchisms that he would always do.
That was the other thing, too.
That was the other thing that I was like, come on,
bro. The trash cans on the sidelines, brick by brick.
Nobody cares about those things when you win. He didn't win enough.
And yeah, exactly. Maybe if you won, it wouldn't matter. But he wasn't consistent enough. And when it comes down to it, Butch, you weren't good enough for the SEC and weren't good enough for Tennessee.
Here's the problem. He mentions they sent 15 players to the NFL. Great. What'd you do with those 15 players? Oh, you lost to Vandy in South Carolina, missed out on the Sugar Bowl and an SEC East championship? Cool. That's why you got fired. It's not just the 4-8 season, which, by the way, is the first ever season with more than 7 losses in the over 120-year history of the University of Tennessee football program, which is a blue blood program, and I'll have that conversation as well. But, buddy, what do you think the expectations are? Yeah. Making multiple bowl games and finishing in the top 10 is not enough to appease Tennessee fans. And he knows that. He's trying to spin it because he wants a bigger paycheck. And you do you, buddy, but we're also going to do us over here and call you out for it when you continue to sell us the load of cow manure that you sold us for years when you were the head coach at Tennessee. Like this whole, we sent guys to the league. Cool. Go be the Kentucky basketball coach if you just want to talk about sending guys to the league and doing nothing else. Because, by the way, that guy got fired too.
Yeah, he did.
And now he's at Arkansas. Yeah. So sending guys to the league is not enough at good programs of the SEC. I have very little respect for that point of view. Yeah. Very little respect.
And losing to Kentucky will do that to you, and Vanderbilt also in the same year.
In South Carolina.
In the same year. Like, that doesn't do it for you, okay? And South Carolina also. So, Butch, this is a results-based league. Like, it ain't for everybody in the SEC. Like, Sam Pittman's having the same conversation down in Arkansas, too, right?
And he got pantsed by Georgia at home.
Yeah.
In that season.
And for the good that he did get out of it, like Joshua Dobbs created a good fortune for him, too, that we don't speak about enough. Like, whether he spotted Dobbs and what he was capable of versus practice versus the game, hats off to him and that. Like I said, I'm not going to completely crap on Bush to say that, but I'm with you, Will. I think him being in the position to where he turned Arkansas State record around this year,
they're 8-5,
is positioning him for, hey, I need to be back in the SEC. This feels like a Butch Jones.
1 year
he's not ready.
Do it.
He's not going to go to the SEC again, though. I mean, he's 19-31 in 4 seasons there.
Out of respect to our former teammate Mickey Ryan here, I feel like he don't want to be there.
Well, no,
right.
but
you know what I'm saying?
You don't go from Arkansas State as a failed former head coach to the SEC. Unless you're going to Vanderbilt.
And then, let me be real petty real quick, okay? For you, Butch, to be talking about how you had it, it was there for you, basically you deserve to still be there, why in the hell would you leave Tennessee and go play substitute teacher at Alabama then? If you were looking for, like, sympathy from a fan base as far as your credit, like, I know Bruce Pearl gets a lot of credit back. Lane's even in real good graces with the Vols fan base right now. Butch,
some of them, yeah.
Some of them.
Sure.
I'm not the best with Lane. I'm still getting over it.
I know you're not speaking for yourself
Lane's
there.
But that ought to let you know where I stand with making that statement.
You're right.
Like, Butch, you went and got a participation trophy, smoked cigars in the stadium, and you knew what that game meant.
Yeah.
Right? You knew what that game meant, Butch. So don't play that game with a fan base and say, we almost had it. Thank you for the records you gave us, the 9 and 5
he
and
didn't
stuff
nail
like
anything.
that.
I think
except underachieving.
He'd get more respect if he just said, hey, I wasn't good enough here. You know, he just keeps trying to turn this in to a warm cherry pie when it's just like
cherry pie. Oh,
not
I've never
that.
had that before. Yeah,
It's
I don't
good.
want cherry pie or Butch Jones.
Not a cherry pie fan.
Yeah,
It's who he is.
Don't. But you lost everything whenever you mentioned that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Whenever you went to Alabama.
He tried to get me kicked out of watching practice because I said on Twitter when I was coming on this station that he used a lot of cliches.
Too many.
Butchisms.
Yeah, I was almost kicked out of watching Tennessee football practice because I made that joke on social media.
And I'll say this.
Anyway, I don't have a lot of respect for
I met him at Tennessee, too. It was cool to me and my family. I think my boys and us, we came to the practices and all those types of things. Pruitt, too. Jeez, I don't need to meet another head coach. But with that being said,
I think we're going away from Josh Heupel.
The person is good, but I think the coach has his deficiencies and limitations.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah, if you was that good, you 2-10, 3-9, 6-7, 8-5.
615-737-1045. Lamont Butler is calling his shot on the rematch with Tennessee, plus reaction to Cam Ward's Pro Day and what we learned from down in Coral Gables about the Titans and the #1 pick. All that and more coming up in hour 2 next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, they have been here and in business, man, since 1990. Our family owned and operated. Jim Hiller was recently named amongst the most admired CEOs because of the way he truly cares for his team and clients. Hiller takes care of the customer on every job, every time, and they stand by their work. How do you know this, Ramon? It's because I'm also a client, man. I always trust them to come over to my house, and it's for this one of these reasons right here. It's 100% satisfaction. Happy you'll build the service is free is their slogan, man. If a customer isn't isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right. Hiller offers you also true transparency pricing. What that means is every part of the job is lined up front, so homeowners understand easily what they're paying for and the whys. No hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill. To book with Hiller or just simply learn more about the best company around, man, go to happyhiller.com.
7:01 for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. The odds-on favorite to be the number one pick of the NFL Draft had his pro day yesterday. Miami's Cam Ward went through workouts in front of Titans brass, and the full crew was in attendance, including coaches Brian Callahan, Nick Holtz, and Bo Hardigree, in addition to Mike Borgonzi, Reggie McKenzie, Dave Ziegler, and other front office executives. The Titans also reportedly took Ward to dinner in Miami on Sunday night as we hit just under a month until the Titans officially go on the clock in the 2025 NFL Draft. Yesterday, the Titans claimed linebacker Curtis Jacobs off of waivers. He was waived by the Patriots last week, entering the NFL as an undrafted free agent in 2024. Jacobs originally signed with Kansas City. He appeared in 9 games last season with 2 starts for New England, totaling 4 tackles in addition to playing on special teams. And sad news of the NCAA women's basketball tournament yesterday as USC star Juju Watkins will officially miss the remainder of the tournament after suffering a torn ACL in her right knee during the Trojans' second-round win over Mississippi State. The AP All-American selection averaged 24 points per game this season, the driving force behind USC's 30-3 season, which earned them a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. RKW 104.5 The Zone, brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. We stream the show live, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch with the full crew present and accounted for. Ramon Foster, when Lamont Butler says, we're going to win that game, when talking about Tennessee, Kentucky, how does that make you feel?
Man, first and foremost, for the excuse makers, don't make an excuse for him. He said what he said.
Yes, he did.
Don't do, whoa, no, he mean it. Shut up, okay?
It's on record.
Here it is, the audio of Kentucky's point guard talking about the matchup with the Vols. In just a moment.
That are at this stage as well. Just playing in that conference, how much did it help you these last few days, what you'd already seen during the regular season conference competition?
Yeah, I mean, we're just battle tested, throughout this whole, conference. Conference was a beast. We had a lot of good teams that we played, but, we stayed resilient, stayed together and, just showed today. I mean, everybody was playing with love and passion for one another, and we can't focus about anything but the next game, and we just have a lot of love, and we're gonna win that game.
First time hearing of this, Lamont. Ramon's fired up about this. Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah, again, he said what he said. One, he's supposed to say that. I just wouldn't have said it out loud. Like, you guys knocked us off twice this year, and you're supposed to feel confident about it. This is March Madness. Like, the whole cliche is hard to beat a team 3 times, all that type of stuff.
It's true, though.
Can I add in a stat on that real quick?
Absolutely, go ahead.
So I was reading in terms of beating a team 3 times. So it says in this little clip 2 of that, when the better team lost the previous 2 meetings, the team avenged those defeats at a 56.7% clip.
It's actually lower than the number I saw.
Is it?
It's lower than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I hear him say that, and I think he was in the moment. I think he feels very confident in his squad, how they won that last game and knocking off the team that they did. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, and not just that, too. I feel like you heard a lot of the behind-the-scenes conversation that the University of Kentucky basketball program has had. We spoke about Cal not being there and the removal of him, and, heck, he made the Sweet 16. So they saw that happen. You saw their old coach school also do well in the tournament, so they have that pressure. So you are Kentucky. You're supposed to feel this confident, but you're not supposed to say that out loud. Sports is a very finicky thing when you say these types of things. And as far as, well, the Vols should already be motivated. They were. It's just that when you, as an athlete, specifically in these roles, whether it be playoffs, the first game of the season, rivalries, or March Madness, it heightens everything around this conversation. So don't save him. Let Lamont Butler be in this world, but understand, like, you may be fine, sir, as a player, but the rest of your teammates got to answer for this. And not just that, you know, like, you also have to understand that the officiating, however it chooses to go, whether they let it be overly physical or it's touch and go, you've sparked a wick as it pertains to how the eyes are going to be on this game. So whether you adjust or not, the attention, the hate has been elevated just because of you dropping that last line. Now, maybe he was speaking about the last game and we're going to win that game. No. The fact that you left this on the table for the Vols, bro, like, you say one thing, but your teammates also have to answer for what you say too. And that's where it becomes very problematic in that situation. And for a guy like him too, like, yeah, he's a guard. He controls the ball. He's a part of the motion that gets everything going. And I'm not mad. I absolutely love this. It's just that when you have a rivalry like this and it's a win or move on, like, that right there gets you going. I am ecstatic about this one.
Well,
so you're glad it's happening.
That's what I was going to say.
It's happening.
It shouldn't be a Tennessee problem. It's not a Tennessee problem.
No.
You guys should be happy, Vols fans, about a guy that's on the opposing team that's already beat you twice, now is saying and is very confident that in the tournament, which is, you know, in a way a reset, it looks for the SEC teams like it's not really. They're just doing what they've been doing all season. But when you meet that team for the third time and you're giving them a little bit extra billboard material, if I were Kentucky fans, I'd be more like, why'd you say that?
No, they won't. You know why?
They're confident.
We
That's
already have Sully on our YouTube chat saying, what did he say that was wrong?
Yeah, I mean, they're confident that they're winning and that they have won the last two previous matchups during the regular season. And they're like, bring it on. We want more. Because I don't think a lot of people at the start of the season expected Kentucky to be at this spot.
Yeah.
Like, I thought they would have a good year, but I think Mark Pope has done a really good job instilling confidence in his guys. And, you know, again, they beat Tennessee twice.
So here's the thing, though, too, about Lamont Butler saying, like, to your point, like, yeah, they have, and it's beautiful. But, like, I specifically remember, like, being a starter, this might have been, like, year 4, 5, or 6 for me, and I'm feeling myself blocking guys, and I'm talking crazy amounts of trash. I'm talking about I am Shiano talking at a top-tier level, okay? And we're working them pretty good, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing real good. And the dude, my left guard at the time, I'm playing right guard. My left guard at the time was like, Moan, will you shut up? You ain't got to battle him. I do. And I was just like, okay, cool. My bad. That's on me. Lamont Butler may be built like that to handle this. Lamont Butler may love and crave and live in this world. But maybe his center don't.
Yeah, just own it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Own it for yourself. And now you have raised the ante for everyone on your team.
Yeah, is that and are
in
they
the same way
like
that Gerald Mincy did, by the way, for your offensive line, and then Gerald Mincy, who didn't show up and was waiting for a hot dog up at in Kroger Field for games and was not on the field to play Tennessee when the rank came.
They play real football at Kentucky. That's what he said.
Unless you're Gerald Mincy, then you don't play football at all.
He said that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing when you're in those situations is. I'm built like that.
It almost felt like Lamont Butler got a little too comfortable. Like he started answering the question from Steve McGargy, who used to be in Knoxville, by the way, great guy, and was like, he just became what he would talk about in the locker room. Like, well, not everything in the locker room is meant publicly, buddy.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's not. And I the question was asked in the chat: does Barnes use bulletin board material? Here's the thing.
Yes.
Yeah. First and foremost. But the players saw and heard this too. Like, that's the other part behind it is the motivation from, I heard Savage talking about it yesterday. Like Zakai, he was speaking directly to you. Meshack, he's speaking specifically to you. Like, those guys have been around in that program. Lamont Butler, you got there this year.
I know that staff uses stuff like this. Yeah.
Easily.
Like, but those guys have seen this. Like, you think Justin Gainey and Rod Clark and all those coaches, Greg Polinsky, aren't jabbing Zakai like, think he's wrong? Saying he's going to beat
Exactly.
I mean, I'm in no way against this. I love it.
Rick Barnes has, I think, a longer memory than people think.
absolutely. A good memory for however age he is.
And I know he's petty like that too.
No, that's what I mean. Like,
absolutely.
What I mean by good memory is long memory. Like he's not. I don't know how to describe it, but like he may not come across as the most like retaliatory person. Like Rick Barnes is a great human being and a good person, but when he needs to push the right buttons, he will push those buttons. We got a little bit of a glimpse of that after they beat Florida the second time. And Tennessee Athletics put out a video of him, part of his post-game speech, saying like, they challenged you. And we challenged you guys to hit them back based on the way that first game went and some of the things that we felt like we didn't really like coming out of Gainesville.
Yeah, no, and this is it should be the highest rated game going into the weekend, at least for the first half.
I mean, it probably is the highlight if you look at all of it, honestly. And I don't mean just locally.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime Kentucky plays, it's the headliner, but I mean, this and Duke, Arizona feel like the two really big ones
Duke, Arizona
of the whole
big
weekend.
And then it's SEC. It's 3 hours separated from one another. It's a rivalry more now than it ever has been before because of how the wins and losses have gone for each team. Like, for whatever Stephen A. was trying to drum up, stop. We got enough already.
Yeah, you've got on Thursday, BYU, Bama, Crab 5 in Florida, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Arizona, Duke. And then on Friday, Ole Miss, Michigan State, Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, Auburn, and Purdue, Houston.
So I guess the negative parts of this for Lamont Butler is this, too. Like, the reason you say don't say these things in person. I mean, these things in public at the podium. Like, if he goes out and crap the bed, bro, it's hard walking back in that locker room.
Yep.
The other part is if he calls a shot and hit it, right, then it's good. It's good business. But the likelihood of you not motivating a team more, like, you're not supposed to do it like that. Unless it's...
I will say, though, it was at the very end, and it didn't sound like...
I say don't make an excuse for him.
At a very,
Kayla. Don't make no excuse for him. He said what he said.
I'm just saying.
I know you're trying to cover for him just a little bit. He's a great young man. On Friday, he ain't. On Friday, he ain't.
615-737-1045. Cam Ward worked out, and pretty much everybody from the Titans was there. We'll tell you what we learned next. RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. You can download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Cam Ward threw yesterday, finally, after hours of NFL Network coverage, just sitting there and talking about him, waiting for him to throw. He threw. And everyone from the Titans was there. Big deal?
Heck yeah, it's a big deal.
Really?
It was a great show. At this point, I thought it was theatrics of pre-draft positioning for trades and stuff like that. If this is a smoke and mirrors as it pertains to what the Titans brass is showing and doing, then this is the best. I mean, they deserve an Oscar behind this.
I said that last week.
Yeah, they deserve, like, the fact that everybody was there yesterday, and it was, I think, mostly everybody there. This is a franchise-setting pick right here today.
You had Jimmy White there. If Jimmy White is there with his visor, pencil in, his cargo shorts, and he's talking to Cam Ward, they've pulled out all the stops. No, in all seriousness, though, I think it's a huge deal. I mean, the reports are that he went to dinner the night before with Cam Ward. I know that they have said our mind is not made up completely yet, but this is showing, like, you brought all of the guys, not just Mike Borgonzi. You had Ziegler there as well.
Dave
obviously,
Ziegler.
Chad Brinker. Yeah, not Zakai. Another Z. But yeah, I think for the most part, guys, and there is also it's been reported that they are going to have a private workout with him as well. So there is still more on the table when it comes to making sure that this 120% is the right guy. But all signs, guys, points to they are going to take Cam Ward.
Did you like what you saw from Cam Ward's pro day?
I did. I didn't watch it live because I was, a little bit busy, but I did watch every clip I could watch. I watched all the interviews over. Pro Day is set up, like you said, Will, a couple segments ago, to make them look as good as they can. That's why a lot of people love their pro days. A lot of these athletes love doing their pro days because it's in the comfort of their own quote unquote home. They've got their guys to throw to and all the coaches around them and their community. So, of course, it's going to set up the player to have success. And, it did that for Cam Ward. I thought that what he said after was also important, saying that he wanted to show more of that under center type of stuff. He didn't get to do that as much throughout the season playing at Miami. So the script for them, a lot of that was written into it to show the teams that were there, including the Titans, that he's comfortable with that. Again, guys, I just think he's always shown so much poise. Things do not faze Cam Ward. And not saying that that won't be the case, that he won't get his fair share of things that are awakening to the NFL. But the face of Cam Ward does not ever change. The way that he handles business does not ever change. And it just kind of shows you, like, who he is. Like, that is who he is. It's going to be consistent.
Yeah, it's fascinating to look at because it's easy to knock the pro days where he threw routes on air and he did this. And I didn't see a good bit of it. I heard 3HL yesterday evening speaking about it as they were doing the show, and, like, he had a couple of overthrows. This is going to happen. And but he looked the part. He moved the way you needed him to. And apparently, like you said, the confidence is there. His ability to not waver is a part of being a quarterback, too. You never want to be too high, never want to be too low. And especially in a situation like this, because, again, there'll be a lot of excitement around Cam Ward if it holds true and he's drafted here. But the reality of the situation is, bro, you're going to have to come in this thing with a cape and have a S on your chest, essentially. And that's where the rubber hits the road for the most part. Like, I do think some people have a winner's gene. Just sometimes people just do stuff and they just win. And as of late, and so far in Cam Ward's career, he seems to have the ability to make people and teams better around him. We talked about him a little bit this past weekend. We spoke about, like, his ability to be quick with the trigger, get the ball out, and be tough and persevere through a lot of stuff and make and elevate his team to be good, too. What he did with what we know about Restrepo's 40 time right now is something that a mastermind would do at this point. He ran a 4.8. The wide receiver ran a 4.8. And he made a heck of a receiver and had a good year with him, too. It boils down to, again, is it a product of the people he's been surrounded about being good too, because Miami paid a lot in NIL. But I asked you, Kayla, that's what I was going to ask you. I'll defer to you. Mm-hmm. What did he have to work with in Washington State?
Not as much.
And he didn't.
And I'll say this. I think that's the biggest thing about Cam Ward. I've said it before. He's elevated the weapons around him. And that is what I saw at Washington State. That's what I saw in 2 years at Washington State, where I was like, okay, he makes the guys around him better and not taking anything away from those guys. Now, Kyle Williams, one of those guys that, by the way, is in the draft this year, who people should get to know his name. He did spend a year with Cam Ward at Washington State. No, sorry, 2 years, because he was there 3. So that is something that I think, he definitely did. And you said it, Miami has better weapons. So, for me to say that he elevated everybody, with no names isn't true. But he did, I think, elevate even his playmakers around him at Miami. I think that's definitely could be said. And he said he could do it at the next level, too. I think he's confident that he can make his guys better. You can just see it in the way, like, when he throws the ball, or, even if he's in a situation where he's scrambling, like, there's just that confidence to find his guy downfield. I feel like if you exude that confidence, that's going to rub off also on your receivers to make the play.
But that's also one of his knocks, though, too, to play devil's advocate to it, too. His ability to always want to make the play.
Yeah,
now, you need that in you also, as it pertains to playing that position specifically. And you also got to have a little bit of cockiness behind you, too. And he checks the box on a lot of those things. The issue that you have is, how long are you willing to throw him out there in a situation with the weapons that the Titans have right now, too? It becomes, again, you got to come in with a Superman mindset, but you may actually just be in the infant stages of rebuilding it. And that's where, again, the decisions that have to be made moving forward, as far as the coach, as far as the philosophy, what you're going to allow him to do as a quarterback in year one specifically, plays a huge part, honestly, in his success.
He made a throw, Cam Ward, when during his pro day, and then went over to Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and said something to them. He was asked afterwards what he said. He said, "I'm solidifying it today." Is what he said. He told him, said, quote, "They finally got to see me throw in person. That should be all they need to see. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be happy wherever team I go. I'm just trying to play football." Yeah. He's got the confidence, no doubt.
He does. That's all he's ever,
got the cockiness.
ever known. And it's not a cockiness, though, that rubs you the wrong way. If you've kind of met his family tree, talking to Quandre Diggs a lot last season, Quandre actually has a lot of that same kind of quiet confidence, but will say it when he truly feels it. Yeah. And I got a lot that from Quandre in the locker room last year. I talk a lot about him because he's very just honest with things, and he's been talking about Cam Ward, ever since I asked him about it last year, trying to get some inside nuggets or whatever, but it's never changed. The message was always that. And that's what I like seeing Cam Ward. I see that in him, where he's confident, and it is a little cocky sometimes, but that's kind of who he is and who he has always been. And I actually respect that.
So Ian Rappaport of NFL Media goes on NFL Network yesterday and has this to say about the Titans, Cam Ward, and the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, Cam Ward should be confident. Now, first of all, as far as where he slots in from compared to the other quarterbacks, compared to the other top prospects, it does seem to me, based on the people I've spoken with, and this is obviously not a surprise, that he is looking increasingly likely that Cam Ward is the number 1 overall pick. It is not done. People are not done with their evaluations. We don't even know what team is going to pick number 1, but certainly seems the most likely scenario is that Cam Ward is number 1. As far as the Tennessee Titans go, my understanding, despite the fact that they haven't signed a veteran quarterback yet, still need one, and do not yet have an entrenched starter, haven't made the firm and final decision that they are making the pick. They are still going through the evaluation process. That includes, obviously, this pro day. It includes, obviously, talking with members of the Tennessee Titans staff, dining with them during the course of his pro day and before his pro day. I'm told the Titans are also going to have private workouts with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Those should be over the next 2 or so weeks. It is all part of the process, guys, for them to evaluate where they are. Do they want to consider potential offers to trade back, or do they want to make the pick? I would say, to me, it seems likely, as of now, make the pick, but certainly they are not done with that decision.
So even though all of us know what they're going to do, the Titans still will not admit what they are going to do through reporters.
I don't think it's surprising, guys. I think they knew they were going to take this to the end in terms of playing the game. You just never know if there's that slight chance where something to them is offered they can't resist. At this point, I believe they are taking Cam too, but it does not surprise me the way that I feel Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi are going to do business from here on out with this organization, that they're going to not 100% reveal their cards.
Well, that's kind of hard. So at this point, to be quite honest with you, I mean,
there's not many choices either for them.
Yeah, and that's the other part too. I was thinking to myself, is it smart for them to also work out Shedeur in the same sense? And the answer is yes.
They're going to.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Workout.
Like, and the only reason I bring it up is what if it's a little bit more cleaner? What if it's a personality that you won't like? Cam and Shedeur, I see somebody say, like, you don't want a quiet quarterback. Like, Cam has a lot of personality. Like, he understands the game that he's playing and how to play it too. I'll just leave it that way. He gets it as it pertains to playing a position of quarterback too. But again, if we're just going to split hairs for a second, what if you like the control and concise that Shedeur possesses versus the ability to just be a gunslinger? Like, we're essentially talking about Tom Brady and, let's be quite honest,
Patrick Mahomes. If we're going to do the high-end comparison for both of them, which one should they like better?
Which one should they like better for this team and for this offense?
Yeah.
Like, those are the questions that you have to ask. So I don't think Shedeur is completely out. I saw Abdul Carter, I guess, wants to be the number 1 overall pick. Like, if there's a play for him in a sense, like, you got to, like, hold it close. But the issue that the Titans have as it pertains to this pick at quarterback, everybody know you need one. And you definitely don't want to waste a pick on, I hate to say, like, Tyler Shuck like that, but you don't want to waste a quarterback pick on Tyler Shuck when you have a premier guy in Cam Ward or Shedeur moving forward too.
Right.
It's complicated, but it's not in how I view this one. Because again, the way Abdul Carter is acting on social media around this, like, he's probably better off not going number 1 to the team that receives him because he's going to be so ticked off. Like, you need a better version of him probably as the 2nd or 3rd overall pick. And you can't have revisionist history and say we should have after that if it doesn't work with one of the quarterbacks that's selected. But Cam seems to be the guy. He checks every box as far as playing the position. And if he's coachable enough to really make himself that much better over time, because it ain't just a rookie year. It's years past that have to matter, too. This is a longevity pick right here for at a minimum of 10 years.
I actually respect the fact that they are doing their due diligence in this process. I really do, because we can all say right now it looks like it will be Cam Ward to the Titans. However, according to Ian Rappaport, he's saying that there's going to be some private workouts. They're obviously going to be at Abdul Carter's pro day here on Friday. So, guys, I actually like it because you want to make 100% sure that this is the right choice. And them doing this and them continuing to have workouts and continuing to get to know the players they're interested in, they have nothing to lose by doing it this way, right? And not revealing exactly what they're going to do. And maybe they don't know yet. Maybe they are leaving it up to a couple more visits with, these quarterbacks and these other potential NFL prospects.
I don't think they would have signed Brandon Allen if they didn't know. To me, it's more about they are being more ruthless in what gets out of that building. And I think there's this idea that maybe the Titans as an organization were a little too open about their plan and who they were internally last season. And that guy's doing interviews for CBS now on the other end of the field, which we'll talk about. And former GM Rand Carthon, I think he was probably made the scapegoat in that way. That's maybe a little unfair. But I do think that there is a ruthlessness now within that building to just do their business more internally than they maybe were before. And I think we're going to see that from Brian Callahan this year, too. I think Brian at times is a little too forthcoming about some of the things that he sees and likes. And I don't know. Mike Borgonzi is not as much of a talker as Rand Carthon was. And to me, this is Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi's personality starting to take over in just the way they are talking to the Rappaports of the world about their plans and what they want to do.
Yeah, and I think that it's smart in a way. I mean, it's harder for us, right? Because we're talk radio. We talk NFL almost every day of the year. And the more kind of nuggets we get out of the Titans organization, of course, that's going to bring us to a talking point for that day. But it has been a lot different. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think for them, though, they look at it as the less that can come out of this front office, the better for them to control the narrative, right?
Yeah.
And the maybe better for them that they can get this organization back on track in their mind.
And I think the process of getting to this point, though, from last year what ran to this year is also totally different, too. Because you supposedly had your guy in Levis. So the plan to, like, really set in place was, I mean, you wrote that out. We're good for the next, let's go, 5 to 7 years with Levis, potentially, right? Like, you wrote that out.
You hoped, yeah.
Yeah, you hoped. This one is so obvious, and the approach that Chad and Borgonzi have to have, I think, has to be a little bit more stealth, though. Because if you can, in my opinion, this is me, I'll say this. If you can, in my opinion, you do still trade back.
Still.
Moan, wow.
I wouldn't, but, I mean, at the beginning of the offseason, I agreed with you. I just don't anymore.
What do you got to get
Allen.
now? Like, now that we're talking a month out with all the stuff that we've seen.
for
I do think
sure.
as much as his stock has risen, Cam Ward, because I think people are talking themselves into Cam Ward.
Sure, I
More
agree
so
with
than
that.
they originally liked him, like we always
and
do
some
with
because of the
quarterbacks.
media.
I do think you could get a little bit of a haul for him if a lot of this noise really is true.
And so we'll play devil's advocate. We can't be one way on how we do this. I've never, what's his name? Joe Long this again. No. Joe Alt. I'll never Joe Alt a draft season again where we were for
Where you just focus on one thing.
We're focused on one thing. I'll never Joe Alt it again. But what I say is this is I saw Easton Freeze write an article on A to Z, and he spoke about the pieces that have to be filled in. You currently don't have a 2 and a 3 wide receiver. You don't have a number 1 edge, essentially, for what you're looking for. Still got to figure out what your second linebacker is going to be as far as safety. Like, there's a lot of questions to be answered on this team, and also the depth that you have on the offensive line. If you get cracked one time, it's a wrap. So I say all that to say this. And being around is what I'll just say. And this is not a Rand reference. What I do know is this. The people that are still around in that building covet, love, want, need as many picks as you possibly can get.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I bring up, like, hey, do you go get the DN and build up the team? Like, we brought up the conversation, I think Friday, Will, like, it's easy to be successful with a quarterback, a young one, when you got a strong team. This isn't a strong team right now. And that's a lot to put on the shoulders of a guy like Cam Ward
Right.
to actually
Although
finish
I think
that
he can
task.
handle it.
And I say this, I ain't got no problem with that. It's also the results of Cam Ward in year one without a strong team, too. It's another firing potentially, right? Another reset. So that's the only reason I bring that up. And I know the fan base won't stop. And I'm just like,
No, it's okay. It's okay.
this will be
it's okay to
5
bring it up.
years
Yeah.
of change if the accepting coach and Brian Callahan is at fault for 5 and 12.
But
right?
I'll say this, Moan, as much as
I'm just painting that picture.
You are. And what I'll say about this, though, is that because they have so many of those holes to fix, you have to start somewhere. And if you can start at a position where you truly believe the quarterback is the guy, let's just start there, right?
I'm with you. But,
Yeah,
I subscribe to a little bit like the market is high on Cam.
Yeah, the main reason I disagree with you is because I think another year of Levis would get him fired as well, Brian Callahan.
Oof.
That's fair.
I just don't want to watch Will Levis play quarterback anymore.
I don't think
And now that Brandon
many
Allen is
people
the other
do.
option, I would have rather them sign a veteran. Again, I would have rather them sign Sam Darnold and see what you can get from him for 2 seasons and go from there. But now that ship has sailed, it's quarterback or bust, baby. We're here.
I'm with. Look, I'm in that boat, but
The
I have to.
foundation of the franchise is on Cam Ward's shoulders.
All right,
Like it or not, and I don't like it.
if they trade out of that first overall pick,
Yeah.
let's play the if game. If they do, the reaction.
And we'll talk about that next. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee, wrapping up hour 2. Ramon Foster with a question for the people. How are you going to react if the Titans trade back and don't take a quarterback and just chuck Will Levis out there?
Ooh.
Am I correctly characterizing the question you want to ask?
Yeah, you are. That's
chuck him out there.
I didn't have Will Levis in mind, to be quite honest with you.
Who then?
At this point, I just saw somebody in the chat say, I think full rebuild. But full rebuild may also start with a quarterback, too. It's just, it's hard for me to honestly, y'all, wrap my head around, you drafted in the first-round quarterback and it's still having a sucky season, that coach stick around. I don't know what Borgonzi, Chad, and Brian's relationship is like. And then, again, they've had this cycle of hire head coach, hire GM, fire head coach, hire new head coach. There's been
fire GM.
There's been no cohesion in the selection process of what's been left here as of late. It's the only reason I bring that up.
So your main question, let's tackle that one first. What would fan reaction be if they traded back? Honestly, I don't think it'd be that bad.
Okay.
I think the Cam Ward hive is very online. Now, I'm not saying that, people that like Cam Ward also aren't on Twitter or aren't calling in. I believe many of you like Cam Ward. I do think, though, that there are more people that are okay with trading back than we probably think in the day-to-day of doing this job.
I think it's more so, though, if they do that and then you start the season with who the apparent quarterback is going to be at this point. And you have to admit that right now, if they do not take Cam Ward, it's going to be Will Levis. Like it or not, guys, he's the only other starting type of quarterback that is on the roster right now. Who else is out there? Who's left that they're going to go get to be a starting quarterback?
Joe Flacco is still out there. Russell Wilson is still out there.
But I feel like he's going to land, Russell Wilson in particular,
well,
I feel like he's going to land somewhere else before here.
I don't know, though, anymore, because the Giants got Jameis. The Browns have Kenny Pickett and might draft Shador. And then
Minnesota needs a backup still.
Minnesota needs one. Pittsburgh is probably going to get Rodgers. I honestly feel like Russell Wilson might be the odd man out in all of this.
Too.
Yeah. And I mean, if fans are okay with, again, it's not like that is going to, in my opinion, turn things around. Just like Ramon said, I look at it as you're just kind of replacing an older quarterback now around a bad team instead of bringing in new, fresh blood to restart things.
To me, they have done enough on the offensive line to convince me you can put Cam Ward behind it. That was my biggest question mark and why I didn't want Cam Ward originally, because I think this bad offensive line would bring out the worst in him to where his floor could be Zach Wilson. Again, his floor. I'm not saying he is Zach Wilson or he's going to be. At his absolute worst, I think he could give some of the same bad moments that Zach Wilson did. They have done enough to make this line good now to convince me that you could put Cam Ward behind it and maybe he can be successful. That's the biggest reason why I've changed my mind. And I think we're allowed to change our minds because we get more information, right? If you had drafted a tackle, if you'd gone young on the O-line, if you brought back Dylan Radins, and let's say you had fortified the defense to really master one side of the ball first with young or more expensive talent, before you really try to work on the offense, then I think you trade back and you get Abdul Carter and you double down on defense.
Right.
But considering the first steps of this journey they've taken, now I think I'm willing to go take the quarterback risk.
Yeah, and I think you still have to continue to upgrade as much as you can in terms of his weapons. I do believe there are players even on the roster he could maybe elevate, like a Bryce Oliver. I really do. I feel like that could be a guy who you see take a next step by a guy like Cam Ward being the quarterback. But they do need to upgrade
out of
that.
respect for Bryce Oliver, are you also just getting NWI put 2.0 though too? My point, no, it is, but it ain't. NWI was Nick Westbrook-Akini, out of respect for him, was schemed up a good bit too. You get that many touchdowns and that less of targets, it's somewhat as hey, nobody was looking for you situation. Making Bryce Oliver into
I didn't say
Odell
number
Beckham.
one or two.
I'm just saying in general, there's a facet to me to where you walk into stadiums and there's a fear factor.
Well, sure. And I that's why I said they need to upgrade.
Yeah, they do in all facets of this team.
Traylon Burks ain't it either.
No, I never.
And that's the
that
other
one to
thing.
be the
He's
case
still on
either.
the roster,
I was hopeful,
folks.
but I doubt it.
Oh, yeah, there's no really incentive to get rid of him right now.
No, it's not at
That's
all
dead
at this
weight.
point. He's a warm body that can help you potentially.
And you don't really save money by getting rid of him right now. So
I personally am looking more down the line, than currently. So that's my mindset behind it. I'm pro Cam Ward. I do believe he could be the number 1 overall pick here. I just look at the full planning of it all. So like a lot of this feels like dessert before dinner. And you know what? You're adults. You do whatever the hell you want to. But it feels like dessert before dinner for the most part. So.
And it's the tricky thing about it, too, is that sometimes you can do the dessert before dinner method and it works in Cincinnati. And then sometimes you try to add the quarterback first and it doesn't work.
But here's the other thing, though, too,
Like
in the Cincinnati thing.
Okay.
Like Joe Burrow perception of what he could do for a franchise.
Yeah, way different than Cam
Okay,
Ward.
all right.
No, I know.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay.
If you're just talking about when you get your quarterback, that's where I think that comparison is fair. Daniel Jeremiah did make an interesting comment yesterday that I think we could react more to. He actually made a Caleb Williams comp for Cam Ward and made the point that Chicago should have let him improvise and make more mistakes last year versus try to coach all the turnovers out of him. Because I watched all the pro day coverage yesterday live, and I thought Cam looked great. I thought the throwing motion, he also made the comparison of he's got blackjack dealer hands, how quickly his hands move. I thought that was a great way to describe it that I've never heard before. But talked about, like, do you really try to just build around Cam Ward's strengths and just trust that there's going to be some crazy mistakes that come with it and accept that it's going to be worth it in the long run? I think it's a really interesting question.
Yeah, I think you do have to not completely, take the Cam Ward out of Cam Ward when he comes here, if he comes here.
I agree.
I would agree with you on that. I think that coaching is something that has to happen over time in terms of limiting those things, but I don't think you can keep him from being who he is as a player.
Facts.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there's a bigger discussion to be had on how they do that, but I agree. You don't bring in Cam Ward and try to turn him into Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You try to let Cam Ward be Cam Ward.
Good coaches do that.
615-737-1045 is our number. We'll get to John and Tony as we begin hour 2 and hear from Rand Carthon interviewing Cam Ward. Big J sports entertainer, journalist Rand Carthon. Cooking with Cam may be the name of their conversation next.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
8:01 for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. The odds-on favorite to be the number one pick of the NFL Draft had his pro day yesterday. Miami's Cam Ward went through workouts in front of Titans brass. Head coach Brian Callahan and GM Mike Borgonzi were joined by coaches Nick Holtz and Bo Hardigree. Front office executives Reggie McKenzie and Dave Ziegler, among others, were in attendance as well. The Titans also reportedly took Ward to dinner in Miami on Sunday night. The Titans yesterday claimed linebacker Curtis Jacobs off of waivers. He was waived by the Patriots last week. Jacobs entered the NFL as an undrafted free agent in 2024, signing originally with the Chiefs. He appeared in 9 games last season with 2 starts for New England at inside linebacker and totaled 4 tackles in addition to special teams action. Sad news in women's college basketball as USC star Juju Watkins will miss the remainder of the women's NCAA tournament after suffering a torn ACL in her right knee during the Trojans' second-round game against Mississippi State. The Associated Press All-American selection and contender for National Player of the Year averaged 24.6 points per game, leading USC to a 30-3 record and the 4th number 1 seed in this year's tournament. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Brewed up for the second half of the show in Hour 3, courtesy of Scooter's Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooter's Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. 615-737-1045. We'll go rapid fire on the phones in just a moment. Talking about trading back versus taking Cam Ward. Ramon's still in the trade back camp. Kayla and I firmly in the Cam Ward camp. At this point, never thought I'd see the day that I was on this side, but I am at this point.
You are.
I know. I was actually wanted to be the only one here that stood on my ground.
Oh.
You know,
it ain't a bad place to be.
No, I never thought it was.
Yeah, I just saw this franchise trade for AJ Brown on draft night. I've seen also other teams. So my point is this: we're speaking about the quarterback. Yeah, you go get the quarterback. If he's for you, don't nothing else matter in those situations, right?
Presuming that's Cam Ward, the quarterback.
Definitely Cam Ward, if that's the case. And I'm pro Cam Ward, just so you know. No, screw that. I'm going to say what I want to say on this one, okay? The situation for me is this. Sometimes you need a team being built up before you get to the finish line on it. I think Lamar Jackson benefited from a strong team. I think Andrew Luck benefited from a strong team after Peyton left. I think the Denver Broncos benefited from Peyton Manning with a strong team. Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks benefited from a strong team before you got going, right? You need a support system in place. At this point, I'm going to just say this. If I was Jeffrey Simmons, even if Cam Ward came in, and going into year 6 or 7 for Jeff, I'd be knocking down the wall and say, what's y'all plans for me? Right? Because why would you want – because we've seen this fan base say, you wasted the best years of Derrick Henry. You wasted the best years of Harold Landry. You wasted the best years of player X who've been in here in this franchise. Right? What if you got an ex-player like Jeff, why would he want to stay in a situation like this that's going to keep him losing more potentially and behind an 8-ball or chasing eventually a ring at some point?
Yeah, I think eventually, though, you have to, like I said, get the piece that truly matters. And I think no matter what, guys, it is going to take a minute for this team to be what they need to be. Right. And I think you do take a little pressure maybe off of Jeff Moan because he's been the only guy, at least that's been a leader on this team, that's kind of carried the weight. The defense has carried the weight of this team. So maybe finally you look at the offensive side if you add that quarterback. And again, it might not be snap of the finger finding success, but at least you now have that guy to build around on the offensive side. And I know this for sure. He will be a leader in that locker room, something that, God, give Jeff a break for a minute on having to be the only damn voice for the Tennessee Titans. I
don't deny that, but it's also the mindset, like, who's helping Jeff? Where are you going to get the parts to go help him too?
I mean, they've had
right now is him and Tavondre and okay, we'll throw Arden in that conversation too. And then at linebacker, who's going to make the tackles if Jeff is getting double teamed? Not just that, but the run support around him. Then offensively, who? Oh,
exactly.
And
they gave $7 million a year to.
You're still missing 2 wide receivers. I know Cam can be very dynamic, and I'm not denying that. But, like, I do look at this situation and say, and it's the exact same way I feel about Pittsburgh and what they're going through, too. For the people that say, you wouldn't say this about Pittsburgh, I've been saying this about Pittsburgh. I think the plan for Pittsburgh would be to go get a quarterback, fire Coach T, get your top 10 draft pick, and then you hit a full reset. I've said this numerous times on my podcast in Pittsburgh. This ain't a Titans thing. This is a, hey, how strong is your team to compete situation for me? And not just 2 years. Cam, if he's here, you want to see him be here for 10-plus years.
To the phones, John is at Nashville. First up, reacting to all of this. What's up, John?
What's up? Here's what I got. Back in January, local media, social media, national media, we're all talking about trade down. Pretty much 95% of everybody was. I even heard some people talking about, like, if this was last year's draft, Cam Ward would go, like, he'd be like the 4th or 5th quarterback. So I always dictate my draft, kind of like that first impression of what people say, because I kind of think now it's closing time at the bar, and some people are like, I don't want to go home alone. That's kind of how I feel about what's going on with the whole Cam Ward deal. And I'm totally on the trade down, try to get picked, because even if Cam Ward comes in, how many more games are you going to win next season? And then you're sitting there right there where you could have got, or you have more of a variety of pick to get your guy.
You don't know what the quarterbacks are going to be next year. You can think all you want what the quarterbacks are going to be, and you can't just like live your life on just expecting that those, class of quarterbacks are going to be good either.
Well, that would be fine if we only needed a quarterback, if we were a quarterback away.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
You're going to have at least 3 draft picks or 3 draft classes that you hit on to kind of elevate yourself again. I hate to say it.
John does.
That's just the hole you've dug yourself in.
John vocalizes my exact concern. I think that was a great call.
I've been saying that Cam Ward is good from the start, but of course, I know that I'm not national media and I didn't play the game, but I will say I have been around and seen, what he has been as a player and the people that I've talked to. Again, you don't have to agree with me, and I've been saying it though since day one, and I do want to put that out there because I'm not somebody who's joined the bandwagon. I'm a person on this, morning
you think
show.
I've joined the bandwagon? Like,
in a way, yeah. I mean,
that's not what's happened.
But that's just what you agreed to the caller with.
Sure. The quote unquote bandwagon is they actually have a competent offensive line now. They might not break him. Like we got new information. I'm not just changing my opinion like the wind just to join the bandwagon because everybody else is. Like, no. They have a competent offensive line now that makes me think that maybe he won't suck. Like I don't think I've joined a bandwagon.
But he's pretty much saying the only reason why Cam Ward's stock has risen is because of the talk and that, the whole national bandwagon has come along with it. And now there's all this talk of Cam Ward being the only guy that's going at number 1. That's pretty much what he was saying.
That's my concern.
Why is it so possessive with Cam Ward? I've never heard this for any other prospect to come out in the
because he's one of 2 quarterbacks that is being talked about this year.
You mean? It just feels possessive with Cam. Like of the mindset is like if you weren't with us early, then you can't be with us now. Like, and that feels
You're saying I'm being possessive?
No, just everybody's possessive about Cam.
I'm just saying that I brought it up on the show. It's very.
I know, but like, I do agree. Like, narratives can change, opinions can change too. Mine still is trade back.
Yeah,
will I accept the fact that Cam can help this franchise? Yes, but like if it's almost as if you weren't with Cam, then you can't be with Cam now, and it does feels like you can't talk about him the way you want to in a sense with anybody because like you have strong opinions about him, and people can go on the other side and it still be okay. Yeah. This feels, I don't know, it feels possessive when you speak about him. It's weird.
Tony in Nashville up next. Hey, Tony.
Hey, good morning. I believe I'm in agreement with the last caller. You mentioned, Will, before you guys went to the break at the top of the hour, that you felt more confident with Cam Ward coming in with a more beefed-up offensive line, if I heard you correctly. Yeah, I'm still on the trade back and get Abdul Carter and Kayla. I love you. We don't know what quarterbacks are going to be there next year, but to me, this isn't the class. And in my personal opinion, based on what Will said, that gave me more confidence for putting Will back in there with a beefed up line. You drafted him, you traded up to get him, you give him his third year, you went out and made the moves to get the offensive line up. There's other pieces and holes that have to be filled in this draft, including I think you have to go and get another great wide receiver. You just got rid of DeAndre Hopkins midseason, and now your most reliable receiver in Westbrook Akine is gone. I think you trade down, you get Carter to help out Jeff. You got that line beefed. You take one more Will Levis. And look, God forbid, I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs. But if we're going to be bad anyways with Cam Ward and only win 5 or 6 games, why not just use those extra spots to go beef up the other places? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tony. My issue with Levis is I think he'll make these linemen bad, too. I think Will Levis's pocket presence is so bad that no matter who you put in front of him, he's going to take hits.
Yeah, I think that with Will Levis, they just gave him the opportunity. Like, they had an opportunity to, quote unquote, fix him from the start of the season and what happened. And it just never happened. That's hard in the NFL to then roll your dice again on it when you have the number 1 overall pick and you have a quarterback there. And in terms of the possession, I think that's a strong word, Moan. I understand, it's a quarterback, though, and people are going to really take sides when it comes to having the number 1 overall pick to trade down and to either pick a quarterback. So I think that's why maybe it is more so like people gunning for him at this point. And again, I've always been okay with them taking a quarterback in general, but I'm going to go with my heart on this one in Cam Ward. And I know with you, though, you've been since day one, trade back because you'd rather maybe see them get the picks and get an Abdul or something. So
not even just Abdul. And here's the thing, I'm not anti Cam Ward. I'm not anti Shador either. I like both of them. I want to see them both be successful. My point is this as it pertains to the quarterbacks and just the team. We speak about if Cam is out for a game, what are you falling on? We speak about how much winning and losing, how much losing has been done here in the last 3-4 years, right? At some point you should, I believe this, a good quarterback wins half the games by himself and the team wins the rest. If your team can't even win their portion of the games, right, then what are you doing as a squad then? And even if you don't trade back and you take Cam right now, you're still chasing the same thing that you are this year too, right? So I'd much rather, if you can, if it presents itself, you go back to 3 or wherever the hell they decide to trade for. Get as much talent, top-end talent as you can. Because if we mention top-end talent on this team, 1, Jeff.
And I think you could even make the argument he's not top-end talent. To be honest with you.
Perception, I think he is. That's my opinion. I think he's
statistically,
top-end.
and I know that's a difficult position to judge statistically. But the point is, you could even make the argument there is not an elite player on this team. I'd be willing to hear that argument out.
And that's why you just have to start collecting them.
Ryan Stonehouse was elite.
If you think... Well,
he's not here anymore.
There are some guys, that are not here anymore. But that's why I think if they think he is the guy, hell, it don't matter what.
It don't
my
matter
opinion, who is Johnny Stones on the street, right?
Either.
If they think that he is the elite quarterback they feel he can be, then just start building now and take the quarterback, right?
Yeah, the discourse has been weird, though, to your point this year. Because you make the point that they should trade back, and people accuse you of not wanting what's best for the team, which is just wild to me. Totally wild to me.
And again, I am not going to, if they trade back, man, okay, if that's best for the team, they think they can get a haul for it, so be it, right? Will you be disappointed if you wanted Cam Ward? Sure. But, if it's best for the team and you're a Titans fan, you got to trust the front office at this point. You really do. I know that's hard.
Shifting gears, talking Vols with VolQuest's Austin Price coming up next.
Are you worried because your home has been on the market for a while and you didn't have any success getting it sold? I have good news for you. An expired listing can be frustrating, but it doesn't have to be the end of your journey. My friend Bernie Gallerani with Bernie Gallerani Real Estate has proven marketing strategies going to get your property in front of the most qualified buyers to get your top dollar for your home. Bernie Gallerani has more than 200 five-star Google reviews, over $1.3 billion in properties sold. He's going to guarantee to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he's just going to buy it from you. So to get started now, all you got to do is Google Bernie Gallerani Real Estate or go to BernieGallerani.com, or you can just simply give him a call on his cell phone. That's 615-428-2644, 615-428-2644.
The Class Pranks and We Talk Vols on RKW. We are brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Catching up with our good friend Austin Price of VolQuest and On3 this morning. Austin, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Just walked off the practice field over here as spring practice has resumed following spring break.
I love it.
Nice.
So we get the first practice report of anyone out there in the world today. Austin, what did you see today? What did you take away from practice after today's session?
What did I take away from the 6 minutes that we get to see?
That's right.
Yeah, right.
It was actually like 12 to 15 today. It was actually decent. I thought Nico threw it really, really well. I thought Jake Merklinger, was solid. It wasn't Georgia's best day on the practice field, but, this is a kid that also threw it well, in the first week or so of spring practice. So, that's to be expected. You're going to have highs and lows, and, it'll be on him to try to bounce back when Tennessee resumes practice on Thursday. And, defensively, Tim Banks is kind of roving around and, I think that's a different look for him because he's been able to push some of the safety stuff onto, the new veteran coach they hired with NFL ties. And, this is a Tennessee defense that, has got some nice young pieces. They're just trying to hit warp speed with them to get them ready.
Also, with Tennessee coming off of a weekend with a scrimmage, whose stock has risen the most? Is there one specific player or even just one group of players that stands out from what you've heard so far?
Yeah, I think, again, there's a lot of unknown, and you're going to hear me talk about that for the next 4 or 5 months.
Sure.
And some of the stuff, you're going to get, good reports back, but you're not going to truly know until you take to the field in September. I think, they like, some of the young talent at wide receiver. Those kids have done a nice job, showing some real progress through the first handful of practices. They like the young talent on the defensive line. And then I really like where they're at on the offensive line. They've got to figure out, is that going to be William Satterwhite or who? And, I think what they've got out of Wendell Moy and Sam Pendleton to this point has been really, really encouraging for the staff.
Austin Price with us this morning talking Vols, man. Austin, you mentioned the quarterbacks. You said Nico throwing as well, man. We're speaking of quarterbacks here on the NFL level just a little bit as it pertains to the prospect of a player that he is right now. When you look at guys in college, Austin, and specifically for a guy like Nico or somebody that can be compared to him, what does he have to do, considering how the offense can be judged by NFL talking heads, to make himself a high-caliber potential first-round draft pick, if you were to give your honest opinion on him?
Well, I think for Nico, you just got to continue to grow. You got to continue to progress. I think he's definitely added the leadership part to his repertoire, being a little more vocal out there. It's something that's really not in his nature. I think he knows as the quarterback, and the fact that the offense doesn't really have that like Dylan Sampson type player returning, he had to be that guy that stepped forward and was more vocal, and he's done a nice job of that. As far as on the field, just to continue to progress, continue to be a playmaker. And I don't think he lost you any games last year. I'm not sure he necessarily won you any games. He had a couple of great throws that helped you beat Alabama, so you could argue that he helped you win that game. This year, you'd like to see him be able to take over a game like a Cam Ward did a year ago, but that comes from maturity. You got to remember, he's just a redshirt freshman a year ago who had little to no reps the year before. So, he got better and better as the season went on, and you hope that this offseason he takes a giant leap, and the Nico we see come Syracuse and Atlanta is a different Nico in terms of being able to carry a team when Tennessee doesn't have their best stuff that day.
No doubt about it. On the in the backfield for the Vols, too, the running game has been a huge part of the success of this team. What do you expect from that group? Like you said, Dylan Sampson's out, and that's a big void as far as the leadership, but also the production. Who you see being the lead dog as it pertains to how they continue that, Austin?
I don't know if there will be a lead dog. I don't think there'll be a Dylan Sampson type player that rushes for 12 or 1,300 yards. I think it'll be much more by committee. I think Deshaun Bishop continues to do really nice things. I think Peyton Lewis continues to progress and flash, and he's got a lot of talent. Star Thomas has got a lot of versatility to him, the Duke transfer, and then they really like what they've seen out of DeJuan Morris through the first handful of practices, the Oakland product. So This is a different type backfield with just kind of like how Darrell Sims likes to use his backs compared to what Jerry Mack did. Like, it's a smaller rotation. So I don't think you necessarily see everybody, but at the same time, I think this year with the fact they don't have a set guy, I think there's more possibility that you see Darrell Sims expand his rotation compared to a year ago.
Austin Price, our good friend of VolQuest, joining us this morning on RKW. We're talking a little Vols. Before I transfer into the hoop side of things, I will say, because we focus a little bit on what you've seen offensively with this team during spring practice, what do you think sticks out early, Austin, on the defensive side?
You worried me, Kayla, with the way you phrased it. I thought you were transferring. Hopping in the portal.
I'm not going to hop in yet.
You get an angle for more NIL money. Defensively, I think you like what you see out of Edwin Spillman. You like what you see out of some of the secondary, and I think Tennessee, they were not as deep as they were a year ago on the defensive line, but they're still really talented. And what you hope to see is growth from Caleb Herring, growth from Jordan Ross, growth from Tyree Weathersby, Tyree West, and those are the players I think that will be pivotal for Tennessee to take a step on the defensive line.
Okay, Austin. So with the hoops, and I know there's a lot of excited Vols fans here across Tennessee ready for this upcoming matchup, round 3 with Kentucky. How easy is it for your mind to, beat a team after you've gotten beat by them twice? Or is it something where it's another flip of the coin? I feel like at some point the table's got to turn, right?
I don't think it's in their head, especially with a veteran group. I think if anything, it just, makes them mad. So they're determined to flip the script. And so, Kentucky players giving them bulletin board material after their win the other night against Illinois. I think that's good. That drives a guy like Zakai Ziegler. He lives to be motivated, and it doesn't take much. You give that guy an inch, and he's going to take a mile. And saying we're going to win this game, we're going to beat them again, stuff like that. It definitely is going to light the fire. Not that he needed to have it lit, because I can promise you that guy burns 24/7. But I think for this team, they just have to clean up a few things. It's they've been right there on multiple occasions. They've not shot it great. Kentucky shot the lights out. If Kentucky shoots over 50% from 3 again, it's probably not going to be good for the Vols. But I think you got to figure out some type of matchup switch defensively that allows you to defend the 3. Kentucky has 4 guards that can shoot it pretty well, and Tennessee's going to have to be, I think, potentially go with that smaller lineup that we've seen Tennessee close out games with, where you have Meshack and Gainey and Lanier and Zakai all on the floor at the same time. I think that's a potential to see come Friday night.
VolQuest Austin Price with us. Austin, is there something Tennessee you feel like didn't do well defensively in those first matchups with Kentucky, or how much of this has just kind of been the luck or maybe unluck of the draw for Tennessee, considering the way the Cats have shot from 3 in those first 2 games?
Well, Kentucky does a good job of moving the basketball.
Right.
And Tennessee can sometimes be a little too aggressive, and then you overextend, and when Kentucky's able to move the ball so well, they can, flip the other side of the court, all of a sudden you've got a guy wide open. And so, does Tennessee gamble less in this game and just try to play more solid defense, not, trying to go for steals and not trying to be too aggressive, be a little more reserved. I think, that's hard to do when it's kind of in your DNA to play a certain way. But, I do think that, there are some things they can do schematically that, could give them more success against the Kentucky team that, again, has been lights out through 2 games against Tennessee this year.
Austin, I think the Chris Lofton single-season threes record is one that many people thought was one of the more unbreakable records in Tennessee basketball history. Chaz Lanier does that over the weekend, and now Chris Lofton just has to settle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on that all-time leaderboard. Just put it in context for us, if you will, just how insane that is, Austin, because it's almost like we started focusing so much on Zakai Ziegler, maybe we haven't talked enough about just how historic of a season this has been for Chaz Lanier.
Oh, it's been fantastic, and to Chaz's credit, he's just rolled through it with a smile, through the ups, through the downs. Like, the kid's got a super attitude. And the sad part is everybody, much like people compare Nico to Hendon and that ridiculous offense in 22, people compare Chaz Lanier to Dalton Connect because of what they saw last year. And those two guys are two different players. And, so I think unfairly early on, everybody's like, he's not Dalton. Well, of course not. Dalton's a different type of player. But what Chaz has done is he's improved his craft. Defensively, I think he is much more stable than he was early in the year. And then, from a shooting standpoint, the guy's just been fantastic. So, individual records, I think you'll continue to see fall from time to time with the right player. It's the career records, like Lawton's career three-point record won't be touched because people aren't going to stay. Like the Zakai Zieglers and Jemai Mashaks are dinosaurs. It's kind of like I told, Cooper Mays and Omari Thomas after the Ohio State game. Do you feel like a dinosaur in terms of you're the last of your generation, of your breed that's going to be around here 4 or 5 years? Like everybody else is going to be quick to try to go and parlay it into 13 transfers because that's kind of this current model. Maybe it switches back eventually, but right now that's kind of the where you're at with it. So, I think the individual records from time to time with the right special player are touchable. I think some of these career marks across the landscape, national records, university records, SEC records, are much more safe the longer we go in this current model.
Also, when you look at this matchup, especially with Kentucky's point guard or shooting guard, speaking up also, how have you seen Coach Barnes handle these situations? And speaking of dinosaurs in the sense of the players he's got on this roster, there's some guys that have been at Tennessee for a while, and Mashak and Zakai, and also just some seasoned guys, and Igor too. Does this faze them much at all? If you can walk us behind the curtain a little bit on how they perceive and take this going into Friday?
I don't think that they don't think. I know that it burns them that they got beat twice, but I don't think that they blink much at, it's Tennessee, Kentucky, and it's the first time they've ever met in the NCAA tournament and stuff like that. They are literally, I think, focused on Coach Barnes did a really nice job last week of just saying, let's win the Lexington Invitational. Now they're trying to win the Indianapolis Invitational. And then kind of staying where you're at, being grounded, being where your feet are. And so I don't think they'll overhype this game too much, but at the same time, they know who they're playing. They know they beat them twice, and, they're out to try to flip the script this time around. So I think that having a veteran group, this absolutely helps them. If they were in a younger, inexperienced group, I think you worry more about, maybe it becoming a mental deal or whatever. I don't think Zakai and Jemai and some of those guys think twice about it.
He is Austin Price of VolQuest on 3 Tuesday mornings here at 8:20 on the show, right off the practice field, talking football and some hoops as well. Thank you so much, Austin. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Austin.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Austin.
you guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Austin Price. Bringing up an interesting point. If you're Rick Barnes, do you push the rivalry button or do you focus more on winning the whole weekend?
It's got to be the weekend. That's the approach. If you dive too deep and get too emotional and too high and vindictive, if I can be honest about it, if they act like me, the way I view this game, and what he said, you lose the purpose of being in March Madness. And that's why I was just asking the question, take us behind the curtain a little bit, Austin, and explain to us, some people get real personal with, their matchups. And then you win the one you want, and you lose the championship, or you don't advance the way you want to. So that's the reason I wanted to know, does it faze Zakai and Chaz and Mashak to hear that be said, knowing that you did lose 2 games and all eyes will be on this matchup on Friday?
Yeah, I think that you have to approach it with a little bit of both, because it's the next opponent, right? So no matter what, you have to be ready for this game and up for this game. And that's not going to take a lot because they know what they're getting in terms of Kentucky. They've faced them 2 times, like you said. But yeah, you can't play 100% into it just being that rival from the regular season. Like, this is the tournament. It's a tournament team that you're facing. We always talk about resetting the button once the tournament, approaches. You kind of have to do that too with this opponent, even though you've seen him before. So I think it's a happy medium approach by Rick Barnes, and that's why I feel so confident in Barnes, because he's been in these positions so many times. And you also almost might look at the other side with Pope. And I know that Pope is had experience, but Mark Pope, excuse me. But at the same time, this is a new team. This is his first year there. Like, at what point will the bridge finally break for them?
Because what you don't want is beat Kentucky and then you lose the next one. Because being in that situation before,
your emotions
nothing more you love than the team that beat you get immediately bumped.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the beauty of the veteran experience of the roster is Rick Barnes will know what buttons to press because he knows these guys really well. And plus, Sakai Ziegler's kind of another coach out there, honestly. Like, Rick will tell you that. So, not something I'm worried about. No, I'm not worried. I'm very confident that Tennessee wins on Friday. I feel really good about this game. I really do. Now that I've kind of taken the emotion out of it and broken down the matchup itself, I really don't think it's a bad matchup for Tennessee because Kentucky is getting a very different version of Tennessee's guards than they got the previous 2 times they played. I think Tennessee is better from the experience of going to Rupp and losing, that they saw a really bad form of Jordan Gainey, Sakai Ziegler, and Chaz Lanier. I mean, it took Chaz Lanier going 0 for 7 from 3 for Kentucky to win that game in Rupp, and it was still a Tennessee lead with about 4 minutes left.
Right.
He's not going to, I'll just tell you right now, Chaz Lanier is not going 0 of 7 from 3 again against Kentucky. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. 615-737-1045. If you were on hold earlier and had to drop off, we had Austin on, wanted to talk about Cam Ward, the Titans, the trade scenarios. We can do that. We will hit the other NFL headlines as well. The Titans have a linebacker, and they have one former player who has landed elsewhere. That's next. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and get $2 off your first mobile order. Streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Titans signed a linebacker. Guess they don't need one anymore. No, they do. I'm being sarcastic. Curtis Jacobs claimed off waivers. Penn State guy, Tony Keeley actually tweeted he was high on coming out of the draft. UDFA in 2024 who signed with Mike Bergonzi and the Chiefs. Brought into a linebacker room. So played for the Patriots last year and was a core special team guy. So there you go.
Sounds like they're getting Abdul Carter a teammate.
Oh, boy. Oh, look at Moan.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at Moan.
Because, yes, signing undrafted free agents from one place means that you're going to get going to go get his former teammate.
Get a roommate real quick, Caleb, for the offseason. Yeah. It means nothing.
No. Special teams edition, right? That's what you think about it. What you need compared to, how they started last year on special teams. They didn't have many quality special team editions.
You also have a very respected special team coordinator too that can call his shots like this also. So it plays into
they've revamped that room. And I'm not saying 100% agree with every move they've made because I still loved Ryan Stonehouse being here.
Yeah, it's Miami Stoney now.
He is.
Miami Stoney.
That is right. I've never been more tempted to put my fiance on air.
Oh, what happened?
She had a story this morning. Man pulls out sword during argument in South Nashville.
Hell yeah.
Sword, so not anything other weapons.
A sword. 23-year-old in South Nashville on Harding Place at noon on Sunday. 2 questions. First, where do you acquire a sword?
Oh, jeez.
B, I feel like if you're pulling a sword on someone, usually that's happening around like 2 a.m., maybe 4 a.m. There are some other substances that are involved to cause you to unsheath said sword. What it encourages you at noon to bring out a sword? We're just having lunch.
These are the reservations I had about Joe Burrow giving his team swords. Remember? Everybody said, those are cool swords. Now look. Peyton's out here covering somebody with a katana
Joe Burrow
sword.
Gave a 23-year-old in South Nashville a sword.
Guess what? His house was broken into.
Hey, now it's making sense. Now it's making sense, Will.
It's hard being the only person here sometimes.
Look, selling,
I'm on that conspiracy theory right there.
Offloading product from Cincinnati to Nashville makes sense to me.
Boom.
There it is. Kayla. Done. Give me some. Yeah, absolutely done. They stole it from Joe Burrow, Will. That's what it was. I told you they didn't need them swords to begin with. Now those are the issues that we have right now. Those are the things we have to deal with, Will. Look, at least it wasn't a gun. Okay, I can throw a brick at somebody with a knife and knock it out of their hand.
Where does one? Do you go to the Renaissance Fair and take one?
Well, that happens too down here, Middle Tennessee.
Have a big
the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, you keep saying stuff, Will, that solidifies this story. Like, what is not
more
us?
I mean, I was joust wondering.
Wondering. Hey, listen, man, you better have a full fit of armor dealing with the guy with the knife. By the way, one of my teammates got stabbed by a knife one time, ruined his career.
Well, this is a sword. Like a knife thing, that's one thing, but like a sword?
What I'm saying is, I joke about throwing a brick at somebody with one, but like that messed up my teammate pretty bad. It was a public source, so I said, and Mike Adams was crazy. Ohio State guy. Never played again after that either. Yeah, it messed him up pretty good, so don't play around with swords like that.
Dylan Radins in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm. That is good for him. Radins, picked up, got a 1-year deal, figured out what happens after this one. New Orleans, again, have to go cheap. Their cap is crazy as heck anyway. I don't even know what their offense is moving forward, but you got Alvin Kamara.
I don't know if they know.
I mean, see, that's the point.
Kellen Moore, does he know?
Their quarterback, I think that's the only thing we know is it's still Derek Carr.
I forget about Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is their head coach.
This is my doppelganger, so I'm always aware
He's
of where
aware
he is.
of where he is.
Yeah, that's right.
Follows his path.
Ben in the chat said, type of sword matter. Was it samurai? Or you say samurai or samurai?
Samurai.
Either. Yeah,
samurai.
like samurai. Sam I am.
Words, y'all.
Sports entertainer. Come on.
So you got what I was saying, but it wasn't correct.
No, I got there eventually.
That's English in a sense, right?
But in all seriousness, congrats to Dylan Radins. I really like Dylan Radins. I think that he still has a chance to be, a good player in this league. So I really do.
He's vested now. He's got 4 years in the league. He's going into his 5th one. So it's good on him, man. Again, you never know what it's going to turn into as far as his career. Mekhi Becton has turned his career around, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it happens. It just wasn't going to work for him here. And how it worked out. So
and they upgraded here. So
and Babs was off this tip. Babs was like,
yeah, she was.
He gone.
She was like, Ramon, if you say that one more time, that you
heard her. I heard her too. I did.
Gray Zabel, come on down. We need another Bison.
Gray Zabel
on the roster.
Let's go.
Other Titans news yesterday that many of you may have seen, may have flown under the radar for others. Robbie Boren, Titans Vice President of Football Communications, is leaving the franchise. Teresa Walker had the report. Robbie has spent 28 seasons with the team, including the last 25 at his current job. He worked for 6 head coaches and 6 general managers, and was a great resource for us as media members, and was someone who always heard us out, someone who always was very fair, who his reaction would always be, how can I make this work? Versus how can I make something not work? And that is not something you always get in that role. So tip of the cap to Robbie on a job well done, and someone who I think the Titans are going to miss.
I think when you think about a job like that, head of PR, and just it's an everyday of the week job, right? And Robbie Boren did it in the most professional way. Meeting him 8 years ago here, just he instantly knows how to build connections with people, the media members. He also knows how to put out fires. I've seen several things, even happening out on the field with media and all that he finds a way to just smooth everything over and do his job. Like, I can't say anything bad about Robbie Boren. So hats off to an incredible career here in Tennessee. Man, I wish him the best of luck wherever he goes.
Cold as ice, man. Always good to me. Real chill, even kill.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Never too high, never too low.
Pro.
Pro. I'm thankful for him. He was cool to me.
Concerns me that another long-time serving Titans employee has been pushed out. I think the further away we get from the original identity of this franchise, the more it is valuable to have someone in that building who understands where all of this came from and what is valuable to the family and to the team and to this city. I think Robbie is one of the many people now who have been longtime serving Titans employees who are out, and that's been a theme of the offseason, and it worries me. It worries me.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you always want to move forward. You always, obviously, all these things are true that, like, you don't want to stay stuck in the past. But I don't think Robbie was, or any of the, talk about head of security, film, all these things. Like, I'm just a little worried about where things are headed over there sometimes.
There's
just
a lot
little
of resetting.
Bit skeptical about some of those decisions and letting go of people who served this franchise really well for a long time. So, anyway, best of luck to Robbie moving forward. But man, that one's a little odd to me.
Yeah, for me too. Because again, I thought he was real good at his job.
Very
also.
Good. Yep.
So again, if he's listening,
by the way, down in
out.
Texas, he's from there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had John McClain, longtime beat writer, and for the Texans, coming out and saying, "Man, they lost a good one."
Well, I would feel. Never mind. I'm not gonna get personal with McClain.
Yeah, we familiar with John McClain for sure, and some of the things he wrote about Ramon a couple months ago for some reasons. Anyway.
Oh, was that John McClain down there?
Oh, wait,
I didn't say none.
I'll say it. Yes,
I'll have to go back there and
Ramon is abstaining from this. Oh yeah, no, it. Yeah. Coming up, hour 4, fourth and final hour of the show. Rand Carthon interviewed Cam Ward. What a sentence!
So weird.
You hear it next.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, man. They have my seal of approval on this deal that could change your life. I was actually talking to a good buddy of mine last night at the ballpark. It's like, man, you need to go over to the Wellness Institute, man. Like, your back, you got a hip issue. Like, they can help fix you, man. You know who you are if you listen to this morning, too. But also, they have this behind the lines offer that's $37, man. It includes a consultation, doctor visit, and x-rays if you need them, and your first treatment, $37. And if you need a more in-depth treatment, well, because you're part of the Zone family, they will give you 50% off spinal decompression treatment. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, listen to them, are just the best at what they do. Somebody like myself who squatted weights and worked out and pushed big men for a living, listen, it's not just for guys like me. It's for women. It's for dads. It's for you gym rats, man, that understand is you got a little tingle down your leg as it pertains to how your back and spine feels, and you need to go get that checked out. They have state-of-the-art spinal decompression machines, and the coolest part is landing that zero-gravity machine and have them just work on you. That's what I'll say. You don't wait more than 5 minutes in the waiting room. They get straight to you. So start your road to a pain-free life, and it is possible by calling the Wellness Institute of Nashville at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
9:01 for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Will Bowling. Miami Pro Day yesterday featured Cam Ward and featured a lot of Titans brass. There to see it in Coral Gables, head coach Brian Callahan and GM Mike Bergonzi watched Ward take part in Miami Pro Day, joined by coaches Nick Holtz and Bo Hardigree. Front office executives Reggie McKenzie and Dave Ziegler were in attendance as well. The Titans also reportedly took Ward to dinner in Miami on Sunday night. The Titans claimed linebacker Curtis Jacobs off waivers on Monday. He was waived by the Patriots last week and was originally signed as an undrafted free agent out of Penn State by Mike Bergonzi and the Kansas City Chiefs. Last season, the inside linebacker appeared in 9 games for the Patriots. Sad news in women's basketball as USC star Juju Watkins will miss the remainder of the women's NCAA tournament after suffering a torn ACL in her right knee. This happened during the Trojans' second-round game against Mississippi State yesterday. The AP All-American selection and National Player of the Year contender averaged 24.5 points per game, along with 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and led USC to a 30-3 record and a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Brewed by Scooters Coffee for hour number 4. Locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. If you are craving some Scooters in your day, and of course you are, if you like good coffee, maybe that maple waffle bite with the sausage, egg, and cheese in between 2 little maple-soaked little waffle pieces. Terrific. Anything you get
go give me some.
hot and fresh for you at Scooters Coffee. Coming up in 15 minutes, SEC Network's Dane Bradshaw will join us as we'll talk Tennessee and the NCAA tournament. Take a look at the SEC teams that are still left. Dane, who was excellent as well in the SEC story about Chris Lofton. I don't know if you guys haven't watched that yet, or if anyone listening hasn't watched that yet. It is outstanding. Watching this. Such a fun trip down memory lane for me. For the guy who's the reason why I wanted to wear number 5 when I was a kid in sports.
Good reason why.
I love Chris Lofton to this day so much.
Be real with you. CeeLo is probably one of the best dudes that ever walked on that campus, like besides the basketball.
That's what I'd always heard. You talk to anybody about him, and then you watch that doc, and it's his faith, his resilience, and learning you have cancer right after you just got beat in the Sweet 16.
And keeping it from everybody.
Awesome. Yeah,
no one even knew.
It's unbelievable. So, good story. If you haven't watched that, I'm sure it's on SEC Network. Make sure you record it and go watch it, even if you're not a Vols fan. It's just good storytelling. Really, really good. And Chris Lowe on there, Mike Strange, Mike Hamilton, rest in peace.
Mike Hamilton.
Legend. So, really, really good. Enjoyed it a lot. Rand Carthon interviewed Cam Ward. Wow, if you told us that sentence a year ago, you would have thought that was happening at the Sunday dinner before the Miami Pro Day. Rand Carthon for CBS Sports talking with Cam Ward about the biggest adjustment he will have to make going into NFL football.
But is there anything that's, from your perspective, that is going to make you nervous about making this transition into becoming an NFL player? And that could be on or off the field.
I haven't really thought about it. I probably still have to get into it first, actually being a quarterback. But on film, it's the same as college. Besides the D-line, who's obviously better. Every team playing against the highest paid defensive linemen, so, the game could speed up a little bit. But just from a back-end standpoint, a lot of guys want to put the safety high, 25 yards down the field, and leave the middle field wide open. So some teams who did that to us this year, they paid the price. I think some teams in the NFL did a lot of too-high stuff, like Dallas, going a lot of Tampa, a lot of cover 2. They leave way too much space on the sideline down the seams. And so I just think, the arm strength and, the confidence that I'm bringing, along with the, me getting my receivers better, I just think I'll be able to put the ball where I want.
But is there...
There's Cam Ward with Rand Carthon. Rand did a good job on that interview, everything I saw.
Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of clips on CBS's website, and maybe then we can now have Rand on our show to do analysis this next year.
Already talked to him about it.
Oh, nice.
I did. I could have told you about a month ago it was going to happen. But either way.
Look at you keeping information from us.
You can't tell my right hand what my left hand is doing all the time.
Not everything's for the public yet.
No, not yet. But Cam Ward brought up something, though, too. It's going to be fascinating. What he didn't bring up also was the hashes. The hashes in the NFL are more down the middle of the line of scrimmage now. When they're out wide, he's right to open. Like, when you got to be, 20 feet away from the sideline, I think, in college, as far as the hashes go, versus being 40 feet away. There's a big difference in, like, how the middle of the field is being played, too. All of what Cam said is teachable stuff. I have nothing to knock about what he said in general. Like, and you saw that also in Miami's tape. His ability to throw the dump off to his running backs lets you know what the concepts of their offense is.
Right. Yeah.
That's where I felt like he was going with that one. But that's an adjustment side of things for him.
Sure. And
it's coachable.
And there will be adjustments. What I just love about it is that I think he is really coachable. And that's what you want, right, in a quarterback. You want the confidence, but you also want the ability to know that there are going to be things that he's going to have to get better at. And that's for any quarterback who comes to the league. It's going to speed up the game. But I loved the interview. I thought Brad Carthon did a pretty good job.
He did. I just looked up hash marks real quick, and it's actually done by Jeff Schwartz, who plays on his radio on the
Former
weekend.
offensive lineman.
And it goes, how the NFL hash marks help defenses disguise pressure more than in college football. It'll be something I'll read here also, but it does give you ability to shift and shake guys, like bring them down to the line of scrimmage because everything is so tight quartered. That's where you always bring up the conversation like arm strength and stuff like that in college. Like, how can they hit the sideline? They hash to the opposite side. You do it in college, but that's a lot of airtime. You know what you take away, too, in the NFL? Like, guys are, and Cam acknowledged it right then, guys are quicker. Defensive lines are better. Like, so it's an adjustment to be had when it comes down to hashes and figuring out the skies.
I liked the question, though.
Well,
essentially, it's
GM.
It's easier for defenses to disguise because when you have a wide split and you're on the right hash, if you're covering a receiver to the offensive left, you've got to be further away, and you declare yourself as either a man-to-man, zone, or blitzer a lot more easily. Because then if you tried to blitz from all the way out there, you're 50 feet away from the line of scrimmage and point of attack versus 25 to 30 feet, and you're not going to get there in time.
So it's broken down right here. It's like, for example, if the ball is placed on the left hash mark on the college field, there's 100 feet, but there's 100 feet between the ball and the right side. On the NFL field, there'd be 89.25 feet between the ball and the left hash line. And he's like, I know that's only a difference, but it can have a big effect on the game as far as blitzes, as far as disguises.
Like there could be a nickel that can show pressure and then fake that pressure and get back more easily because there's less ground to cover.
There it is. Yeah. And that's all teachable. That's the evolution of becoming a quarterback. Yeah, I have no doubt.
And it is, again, also why the most surefire prospects or the most this guy stinks prospects have major culture changes in the NFL because the game is played so differently.
Yeah. It's fascinating also when it comes down to just a breakdown of how you get to that point and grow as a quarterback, too. It's good.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Coming up, Dane Bradshaw, VFL, SEC Network color analyst. You've seen him on TV all year calling Tennessee games. He will break down Tennessee and Kentucky, the rest of the SEC teams that are continuing on in the NCAA tournament after this.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
RKW Brewed by Scooters Coffee continues on 104.5 The Zone. Locations at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Crew is all here. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling, joined by Vol for Life and SEC Network analyst Dane Bradshaw, breaking down Vols and Cats to the SEC in the NCAA Tournament. Dane, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm great, guys. How are you?
Good.
We're good. We're trying to keep Ramon from getting too fired up this early because it's only Tuesday. He heard Lamont Butler say, we're going to win that game, talking about Kentucky's perspective for Tennessee, Dane. As you know better than anybody, there is a lot riding on this, and I can't think of a bigger Tennessee-Kentucky game ever at this point.
No, there's never been more at stake than this right here. As you guys, I'm sure, have already talked about, they've never met in the NCAA tournament. You got Tennessee, who's been swept earlier this year, and Lamont Butler, who's such a cagey veteran. I love watching him play. Surprising to see a little bit of a slip up there from a media perspective because, I mean, what else do you need to put up in the locker room other than that statement if you're Tennessee? I mean, you didn't need any extra motivation. I don't know if it'll necessarily make a difference, but at the same time, if you needed any extra motivation, they gave a little bit there. So it's going to be an awesome one. Tennessee was awful from three in both those games. I think the first matchup, wasn't that the one they shot over 40 threes in a game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all Kentucky's done is each time go 12 for 24. And Kentucky's really unique because they share the ball so quickly, run good offense, get it kind of going. They reverse sides of the floor a bunch. And I think that gets Tennessee in rotation more defensively than some other teams that say, hey, I'm going to be, let's say Mark Sears, for example, just a guard that's going to try to break you down off the bounce some. Tennessee can guard that really well. It's can Tennessee disrupt Kentucky's offense, who isn't high on dribble penetration, one-on-one breakdowns. And so that's where they got to get into the passing lane some, make their passes and catches difficult. And that includes the big man, Amari Williams. He's a point center for Kentucky. A lot of the offense runs through him. He's got great vision. And you've really got to put a ton of ball pressure on him to try to get some deflections and disrupt some of those great passes that he can throw.
SEC Network's Dane Bradshaw, our guest. And Dane, that was kind of my next question. Is this a bad matchup for Tennessee, or is it as simple as adjusting based on some of the things that didn't work in those first two games? Because I imagine Rick Barnes has plenty of film to show a lot of defensive breakdowns for those first two matchups going into Friday.
Yeah, I think if Kentucky was fully healthy with Jackson Robinson and Lamont Butler, who's been just really courageous working through that shoulder injury, I would say typically this is a bad matchup. I don't like the Florida matchup for Tennessee, even though Tennessee got them in Knoxville once this year. Just Florida's size, for example, and then the way Kentucky's offense runs that I was alluding to, I think those aren't favorable. However, Kentucky has just done a great job having role players step up, and every time you think they're out or, hey, great run, but now you've had this much adversity, that they just keep finding ways to win the big games. And but I do like, given the injuries, given the fact that they aren't as healthy, I like Tennessee in this one. If Kentucky was 100%, I might feel a little bit differently, but anytime you're a competitor, man, you just love another shot at a team that beat you twice to have a chance to send them home. And so the thing that's interesting for Kentucky is these role players are starting to get confidence. It's not just a one-game thing. Andrew Carr, I don't think Tennessee's seen the best version of him necessarily. He's much more than a role player now. He was nursing some back injuries throughout the season. He's healthier than he's been. They do a lot of things. He's a cleanup guy, offensively and defensively. And then the freshman Colin Chandler, who came off a 2-year Mormon mission. He's an older guy. He's starting to find confidence and knock down some threes to try to help mitigate Jackson Robinson's season-ending injury.
Dane Bradshaw with us this morning. Dane, when it comes down to this matchup between Tennessee and Kentucky on the basketball side of things, looking at the head coaches, how do you scheme? How do you approach this if you're Rick Barnes going to this one against a guy who's, I don't want to say Kentucky's ahead of schedule because NIL helps with a lot of stuff, but he's got Kentucky basketball back where their fan base wants it to be. How do you attack this coach to coach if you're Rick Barnes in this situation?
Yeah, I think it has to be the most constant, harassing defensive pressure they've had all season, which can be their strength. But again, because Kentucky runs such good offense, reminds me a little bit back in the day of Kevin Stallings at Vanderbilt. They do a lot of back cutting, a little bit more modern offense now at Kentucky. But when you play against those teams like that, I remember, covering, as an analyst, being like, hey, Coach, are you going to switch a bunch? How are you going to defend the back door? This and that. And some of these hard-nosed coaches like Frank Martin when he was at South Carolina, that was great defensively. Rick Barnes at Tennessee, a lot of it's like, I'll tell you how we're going to do it. Nothing creative. We're going to ball pressure the heck out of them, put pressure on their passes to where they can't even make the pass. And I think that's what Tennessee's DNA is. They'll switch, in an emergency situation if the guy gets clipped on a screen and go back. But a lot of it is going to be bear down, get in your guy, and really harass them all game long. And I think too, if they can get Lamont Butler, the point guard for Kentucky, in any sort of foul trouble, or just continue to make him uncomfortable because he's got that shoulder injury, I think that's a huge key to the game. If you can get him to the bench to where he plays less than 25 minutes, I mean, if Kentucky's got to play with what would really be third string point guard, because Jackson Robinson was filling in for that position for 15 or more minutes of the game, I think that's a huge key, knowing just how aggressive defensively Tennessee's going to be.
Dane Bradshaw with us. Dane, when you look at the role that Jordan Gainey has played, man, I love the fact that he can come off and get you points, but how crucial is it for him to be a complement to the attitude that Zakai Ziegler brings to the game, too? Because he's one of the players to me with Gainey, I feel like you love him if he's with you and you hate him if he's on the other side, because he got that edge about him.
Yeah, no, he's been great. And as great as Zakai Ziegler has been with some of the ball screen lob dunks to Felix Agpara, I don't know where the stats are now. I think at one point this season, Agpara was leading the country in dunks because they were getting so many of those shots at the rim. And I give all credit to Rick Barnes, the staff, because they didn't really have that back-to-the-basket post-up guy this season the way they did a year ago, but they found a way to get those paint points and lob dunks with the two-man game there with Ziegler and Agpara. But when it comes to scoring off the ball screen, Gainey does it better than anybody. Like, he reads it so well. When he comes off that screen, he knows how to keep the defender on his back, when to kind of, the phrase is put the defender in jail, kind of have him on your back there. You can either shoot your pull-up there or get all the way to the rim. He reads it extremely, extremely well. And I think when you get down to crunch time and these teams know each other so well and you just need guys to go make a play, if I got to put somebody in the ball screen situation on offense for Tennessee, I'm taking Gainey, even more so than Ziegler. Chaz Lanier, more off the ball stuff anyway, but I think Gainey's been that good and that confident in the mid-range game and making the right decision in those ball screen situations.
Dane Bradshaw of the SEC Network joining us this morning. We're talking to NCAA Tournament. So we all know there will be eyes on that game, but there are more than a handful of SEC teams still in the mix. What's another good matchup in the Sweet 16 to look out for, Dane?
Oh, boy. Take your pick. I'm really excited to see the Alabama one Thursday night against BYU, another high-powered offense. That could be a game certainly in the 80s. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Alabama is, and the thing is, as much credit as they get for shooting the three ball, they hadn't shot the three that great this year. They're tremendous from two, and it's all about their layups and attacking the rim to open up their three. If Alabama can find their shooting stroke, they could be yet again onto another Final Four. And then, of course, Auburn, Michigan. I wonder too. I don't know, if the Auburn coaching staff they hadn't played Michigan this year. With Michigan beating A&M, I'm not sure that's not what Auburn wanted, because A&M has been such a tricky matchup for Auburn, and they lost the last matchup in College Station. That I think, all things considered, you probably pick Michigan if you're Auburn. So anxious to see if they can get back to being the number one team in the country. And I think getting some of that pressure off them, having people start to doubt them a little bit more. I thought they played extremely well this year with the target on their back. But Bruce Pearl and his teams are always at their best when teams are counting them out. I think right now they're seeing the narrative out there that I think has been correct, that they're no longer the best team in the country. They're no longer the favorites to win it all. What's happened to Auburn? Why isn't Broome as good? All those things that Bruce Pearl does such a good job of saying, all right, we're a little bit of the underdog now. You can throw that number one ranking out. Nobody out there is picking Auburn at this point. Let's prove them wrong.
We spoke a little bit about no true Cinderellas in this round of Sweet 16. Well, technically, Arkansas is a double-digit seed. Dane, are you surprised at all just with the success that Coach Cal and Arkansas have had up to this point?
Oh, 100%. I mean, when they started conference play 0-5, the Boogie Flan got hurt. I thought I would have been, even though that Lunardi, even at that time, still had them as one of the last teams in because the SEC metrics were so good. It was still one of those, I'd be way more surprised if Arkansas made the tournament than if they didn't make it. Yet they kept getting better as the season went on. Tennessee fans know Jonas Adu, and that was one guy that was like, I don't care how big of a rut he's in, confidence-wise, they're not using him much. It's still in him. Like, this can be one of the best bigs in the SEC. And better late than never. And towards the end of the season, he's become really good for Arkansas and given them a big-time threat down low. And he's done some good things against bigs that he traditionally doesn't fare well against. And so the confidence through the roof for Arkansas. And it's just so crazy. Like, their whole season changed when they shocked everybody, won on the road at Rupp in a revenge game for Cal. Yep. And it hadn't been perfect since that point, but it's been pretty close, and that was the turning point for the entire season. And now look at them in a Sweet 16. I'm really stunned.
You knew it. By the way, Ron said the same thing about Jonas too.
Yeah,
exact same thing. Like, you knew it was there.
Yep.
100%.
That's because I told Ron that. He doesn't have any original.
I love it. We got a lot of VFLs on television and love the Chris Lofton documentary as well. Would love to get into more of that when the games wrap up here in this March. Dane Bradshaw has been our guest, SEC Network analyst, Vol for Life. Dane, appreciate it so much. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Anytime.
Thanks,
yes, sir. Dane Bradshaw with us here this morning. I love it.
He's like, I told Slay.
I was hoping he took a shot. One thing I do appreciate about it, because I'm very football centric though, is hearing like basketball guys, like purists, talk about like the game and that. Like hearing him say crash down on the offensive guy. I was just like, wait, y'all talk like football players. Like, it's fascinating to hear it translate over.
Slay does it all the time.
He
does. When he joins us.
He does. It's super dope to hear them be in their world, because now it's their time of the year.
Oh yeah, they shine.
They do shine right now.
615-737-1045, open for your phone calls and open for Tennessee and Kentucky fans alike who want to get in on the discussion about the game. I know we had one Kentucky fan who was very critical of us earlier, but then did not want to be put on air.
What?
I challenge you to call back in. In all honesty, just call back in. We'd love to have that discussion.
Park guard got at us. You need to back that up. Look, win,
even
lose,
Dane
or draw.
said that.
Like, seriously, win, lose, or draw. This is what this week is about. Like, why would you? Don't wait to if Kentucky wins and come calling on Monday and be like, I told you guys. And I hate that type of fan. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, no, if you're going to pop off. Like, it's not like you're switching teams, but I did just have a guy that's an Alabama fan, dog Tennessee, and I was like, oh, you guys really are like this. So you mean to tell me you're Alabama football fans, but Kentucky or Duke basketball fans? It holds true. It holds true,
So it's always tough when Kentucky plays Alabama in the SEC tournament. Like, who do their fans?
Which one do you pick?
Which one do you pick?
I can't, like, this is sports, so we can't talk our trash. What are we doing?
And I know a lot of diehard fans of both those teams who hate the fact that there are bandwagons for both of them. Like, I know a lot of Alabama football fans who just despise the people that kind of fake it and jump on the bandwagon for part of the year. And I know a lot of Kentucky basketball fans who get annoyed with the, fake fans who just jump in a little bit. We are getting a call.
Maybe this is the caller.
That's what that looks like.
I would love that if that were the case. Challenge accepted.
Hey, I've got him on the phone.
Got him on the phone. That is.
Respect.
All right, Justin's gonna. All right, what is his name?
His name is Larry.
Larry.
Larry?
Losing Larry. Let's go.
What's up, Larry?
Man, I love this.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, Larry? I respect you for calling in, man.
Well, I mean, I was taking a little bit out of context, saying I called, giving you guys smack. All I called about was, I'm an Auburn fan, first of all. War Eagle.
Yeah. My husband will love that. War Eagle, Larry.
I live here in Kentucky, and I get to see the rivalry between Kentucky and Tennessee. I was just wondering why you guys were being so butthurt about a statement made by a Kentucky player that was purely, in my point of view, was just confidence. And it would have been your point of view if it would have been said by, let's say, Ziegler or, one of those guys. You guys would have took it as, man, these guys are confident, we're going to win the game. But you guys took that and ran with it. And I don't know if that's because Kentucky's, dominated you guys for so long.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Any other thing
that is a lot.
Rick Barnes had a winning record against Kentucky until, he's 11-12. It's been a pretty much 50-50 split.
Yeah, and as of late, Rick has been his dad, was Kyle's dad.
Since what year?
Since Rick Barnes took over, which is what I just said.
Look at the record in the last 10 years.
It's been since 2015.
It's been very Tennessee strong on that side.
It's been even.
And we've dominated as of late.
In the last 10 years, you guys have made a little bit of ground, but I'm just saying they've dominated you guys since the 70s.
Okay, and as of late, we've dogged them too. So this also creates rivalries. Here's the thing: if Zakai would have said it, you can stay on too, Larry. If Zakai would have said it, I would have put in man, I don't know if you should say that. You're writing checks that your other teammates have to answer to. This is also, Larry, the side of sports where you hope somebody say these types of things, because I can make you an enemy, Larry, out of nothing if we're playing a game. This plays into the gamesmanship of it, and it also is a great talking point for the people that are involved in it, specifically on the fan side. You have to answer what you say in these moments, specifically when you say it public at a podium like that. There's nothing wrong with trashing him for saying something like that. That, to me, is what you do in these scenarios right there. I'm not sure why you feel like it's wrong for us to criticize that, or at least be up in arms about it.
I didn't say it was wrong. When I called in, I said, you guys have done an 8-hour segment. Even started yesterday.
8-hour segment
about it,
okay.
And you can't move on from it. It's that's the only talking point you guys can make about the Kentucky.
It is a 4-hour show, and you heard about 10 minutes of it at that point. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. We don't have an 8-hour
Okay, so let me play in with this a little bit. Larry, because you were asking the question, would they be the same way if, Zakai Ziegler said this? Would you guys be still critical
I
of,
would be on the other
player?
side of it. I would be I don't know if you should say that out publicly. I'm riding with him, but I don't know if you should say that publicly. That's what I would say.
Got it.
Okay. Larry, who you got? Since you're unbiased in all this, who's going to win between Tennessee and Kentucky?
I'll tell you, in my bracket, I have Tennessee winning this game.
Okay.
Yes. I like it.
There we go, Larry.
You guys getting beat the very next game.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's cool.
Larry,
I liked it. That was a cordial conversation. I'm glad Larry called in.
I wonder if Larry's allowed to trash talk Alabama football because they've owned Auburn football for his entire life.
I bet he'll admit that, too. It's a touchy subject down there.
I was ready to make Kentucky, who else was in it? Florida and Vanderbilt. You're not that guy on Monday. Had they lost, Kentucky was close. Vanderbilt did lose.
Right.
And Florida had to really push back, and I was ready to talk some trash. This is what we do. It means more. It is what it is, right? But with that being said, I've realized either we're the most hated or most people rivals that don't like to speak of it. I know Alabama and Auburn are big time rivals. I know Florida, Georgia is a thing. But as far as the love to hate, the love to hate is high. And I get that. We might not be.
Meaning, people love to hate Vols fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it is because, Vol Twitter, it's a thing. I'm not just saying, it's just because of Twitter. I mean, y'all are prideful. And
we took over Columbus, Ohio. They hate us for it.
Well, sure.
It's who we are as a fan base. We're loud, we're obnoxious, and we don't apologize for it, and nor should we.
Right. I mean, yeah.
So, to get to the point again, the love to hate rivalry is, I think Tennessee's at the top of a lot of people.
Because we're good at everything right now, too.
Because, and that plays a part. I go back to I saw that clip this past weekend also. That clip of that kid, that young man that was man, I just hate Tennessee.
Yeah, the Alabama guy?
The Alabama guy.
What are he
was I hate I hate Auburn, but man, I hate Tennessee. I was just like, why? Auburn's like a real rival. Like, Tennessee's won. Tennessee's done some stuff.
Auburn's
it's not
as good at everything right now, right?
This was years ago. This video was taken.
It was, but like even in that era.
No, I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? Like UCLA and Arizona don't hate each other like this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no one hates UCLA sucks.
Just going out like random. There it is, my girl right there. But it's fascinating to hear and see it and be a part of it and be like, why?
Yeah, it is interesting. And it is because I think, like you said, your fan base is loud and proud. And I think SEC schools, especially, that see you guys on a day-to-day basis.
But Gator Mike's one of the most loud and proudest Gator fans I know. Like, I know my brother-in-law's an avid Alabama fan. Like, Vanderbilt, like, people.
Well,
they
just don't have.
That's not the same.
They don't have this much winning.
It's not the same.
I'll tell you though,
the fan base isn't as big. What do you want me to say?
I do not. I'm a Gator hater. I've been a Gator hater. When they were really good at everything, I felt like I wanted to just not hear about them. I don't want to hear about the Gators.
It ain't confusing because I get it, but it is. I side-eye why. The why.
It has been. I have enjoyed watching you in your post NFL career learn more about the psyche of fan bases.
It's new to me.
Because you're open about it. You're like, no, I had no idea about like X, Y, or Z things. This is one of those things that a lot of people hate Vols fans. Mm-hmm. Doesn't bother me.
I know.
You have to roll with it.
When you're in the locker room, you don't hear, like, you hear of it. You don't directly hear. Now I directly hear. And it's like, wow.
It's also the line of work you're in, too, probably contributes to it.
That's probably that, too.
But not diminishing your point, though. It's very valid. Mm-hmm. Dr. Locke wants to talk trash this morning. Hello, Dr. Locke.
Give us a diagnosis.
Good morning. How you doing?
Great. Good morning.
I couldn't help. Maybe my ears are a little, sometimes my ears are a little fuzzy, but I couldn't help hearing that so about Tennessee hated fan base because we took over the horseshoe.
Yeah.
Look, man, I'm born and raised in Columbus, and the only thing you took over was the seats. Because
that's true.
On the field,
that's what I'm talking about.
On the field, you brought that patty cake, sissy, weak ass.
I didn't know we could say that word.
And got boat raced.
Did I say on the field, Dr. Locke, or did I talk about in the stands? What was I talking about? The players or the fans?
Got absolutely boat raced.
No. Wait. Well, since your ears are fuzzy, let me correct. Let me make sure they're unfuzzy. I'm going to talk really slowly so you can hear me very clearly. Your fans hated Tennessee fans because we're a better fan base than you, even though your team was better. And we took over your stadium, which is something that never in 150 years of Tennessee football ever would have happened in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Hell yeah.
I hope they spent a lot of money and got a real good seat for that ass.
Oh, we did. I did. I absolutely enjoyed myself,
too. We had good Tennessee fans, had a good seat of the women's basketball game in Columbus over the weekend,
on their own court, too, and had one of your fans.
What's it like only being good at one sport, Dr. Locke? Can you explain that to me?
They can't be
what do you do this time of year?
Columbus is good at other sports.
It's the only sport that pays the bills. It's the only one
don't minimize it now.
How big is that TV contract of the men's basketball tournament?
Minimize it now.
16 million people watched the women's championship last year. Goodbye,
Dr. Locke, I love Columbus and go Bucks.
I hate Columbus and I hate the Bucks. I really don't like Dr. Locke either.
Here we go.
Dr. Locke, I'm on your side.
Hey.
Well, then you're not on my side. That's
Dr. Locke.
I'm not on your side.
The Rebel Chief said more like Dr. Loser.
He was heated.
That's the interaction I had with so many sensitive Ohio State fans up there that whole weekend.
Oh my God!
I love it. Keep calling in, everybody.
Like
you can call in. I will not take your call, Doctor.
just like their point guard from this past weekend, she was salty at Kim, man.
Oh yeah. By the way, shout out to speaking of the Lady Vols who upset.
Talked
Ohio
about it
State.
yesterday.
I know. Upset. We whooped their ass.
It's funny how he didn't.
It's an
mention
upset.
Yeah, he mentioned that. That wasn't no.
Oh,
upset.
he didn't know. He only watches football.
Apparently, all he does is pick locks in betting, so he doesn't really watch too much.
Picks locks.
I wonder how many times he's tried to fire
Locke?
Ryan Day.
They did try to fire Ryan Day.
I'm sure
he would have been fired if he wouldn't have won the national championship.
Straight up.
615-737-1045. We'll wrap up the show next. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee, wrapping up the show on a 104.5 The Zone as we get you on your way. The Buck Rising Show coming up next. Bracket Madness is at Fog Street Lawn Club. Join us at Fog Street Lawn Club on Thursday, starting at 3 o'clock for the Ultimate Basketball Watch Party, featuring a live broadcast as well from 3HL. Guys, this is a deal.
It is.
$10 buffet ticket to get unlimited appetizers and a drink ticket while you enjoy the games.
Jeez.
And for more info, you can visit 1045thezone.com. You know where I'm going to be now on Thursday afternoon. You kidding me? Sounds awesome.
Can you get my first drink?
Very nice.
Sure.
Yes.
Can you get my
I'll pay it
yeah.
back. I'll pay it back.
For a drink ticket?
I got you. Yeah.
I'll just feed you a ticket.
Just get the roll.
I will absolutely be there for that. That place is awesome, by the way, too. The Irish Barbecue Bacon Burger at Fog Street Lawn Club. The Guinnesses on draft. Elite.
I think I know the person that hosting that, too, by the way.
3HL?
You think you know?
We work with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We work with all three.
I'd say,
other
yeah.
person. Never mind. I'm just
Wait,
talking
what
out
other
loud.
person? Now I'm curious.
What are you talking about?
No, I don't want to expose a person like that.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I was getting...
But yeah,
is there like a
we'll be
special
there.
guest or something?
No,
Yeah,
absolutely. Me,
featuring.
I'll be there. I'm bringing my boo thing with
There
me.
you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I will absolutely be there.
Have a little day date. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Yeah, having a little date. Day
date.
dates. Yes. Day dates are elite, by the way.
Well, the hours we work, absolutely.
No,
It's a
for
necessity.
real. Yeah, like those
There are
7
no night
o'clock, 8
dates.
o'clock dinners, and you go to date night trying to wind it down. No, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, get you a day date.
Considering
at like 2.
my fiance starts work at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's
We are
even
also a big
earlier
fan
than
of day
us.
dates.
Are you? See what I'm saying?
These hours are easy compared to the morning TV.
And they
grind.
have to get ready for
Oh, yeah.
their shifts. We don't have to really do much.
Look, all I need is just a shape up. You feel me? Let's go.
My hair's so long, I get out of bed, throw on a hat and a hoodie,
Yeah.
and we're off to work.
We are
TV
working
is a different
for-
world. You
It
gotta
is a
get
different
ready,
world.
ready.
I couldn't imagine, man.
Charles on the phone, 615-737-1045. Hey, Charles.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Morning.
I want to start out by saying I am a Kentucky basketball fan.
Okay.
Yes,
I've
sir.
watched basketball longer than I can walk.
Welcome.
Nice.
How do you feel about those comments in this weekend?
Well, I feel like what Lamont Butler said is prophecy. You guys said that Kentucky wasn't healthy. We haven't been healthy either of the times we beat Tennessee this year.
That's true.
Beat y'all the first time without Butler. The last time when we beat you in Rupp, no Robinson.
That's
Talk
true.
your stuff.
Hey, Andrew Carr's 100% now, or closer to. So
There you go. I'm
Big
here
Blue.
for it. Hey, there it is.
Thank you, Charles.
Big Blue.
Appreciate the call.
Man, Charles,
We've got
baby.
so many different SEC fan bases here. That's what's
Nashville.
just wild, you know?
The station carries a long way.
It does.
It does.
Man. I heard on the podcast the other day, Nelly was talking about he's moving to Nashville. His wife Ashanti. Just like what?
Are you
It's
serious?
hard. It's hard short-handed to beat a team 3 times. It's
Yeah.
hard fully-handed. That's not a word. I don't care. To beat a team 3 times.
All toes and fingers.
I think Tennessee will have made adjustments, and I don't think they will shoot 22% from 3 either. Which, if we want to play the who's healthy game, Tennessee hasn't been healthy all season either. At this point, everybody can have that discussion because Tennessee had J.P. Estrella or Cam Carr. Then I think we're having a very different discussion as well about this team, about this game. But
Also, too, like
it goes both ways.
you get more depth when you get your healthy guys back, but like that team has been cooking. You got to give it up to Kentucky. They've been cooking with what they have right now. So sometimes that can throw off the balance of what you're trying to do in those moments.
I have a game we can play if y'all would like to.
I love games.
Where every Sweet 16 team starting 5 started playing college basketball.
Let's do it.
There is one team in the Sweet 16 that had all 5 of their players start at the team they're playing for.
Okay.
One.
Whoa.
So y'all pull up a list of the Sweet 16 teams so you know who's in there.
Just a second.
One
Okay.
team. Just take a guess.
One team?
Say it one more time, the question.
There is one team where every player on their team started their career for that team.
Okay.
That's playing in the Sweet 16.
Let me go.
Give me 1 second, Will. Purdue.
Let's go Texas Tech.
It is Purdue.
Oh,
You're right. All those Zach Edey merchants stuck
interesting.
around. I'm still bitter. All right, let's see.
You seriously are.
You're supposed to make that last longer.
I'll always be bitter.
trying to
Which
win.
roster is this? Started their careers at Kentucky, Florida Atlantic, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee.
Florida.
Arkansas.
That's not Florida.
Arkansas.
Correct again.
Are you getting fed this information?
Oh, it's Kyle bringing a Kentucky player with him.
And Janelle Davis.
No, I'm not getting fed anything. Yeah. And then, of course, Adu's being over there in Arkansas.
Yeah, that's
Let's do the other one. North Carolina, Alabama, Campbell, Oakland, Tennessee.
Somebody other than Ramon.
Let's do...
This one's easy.
It's easy?
Because of the Tennessee part. There's one other Tennessee transfer in the Sweet 16.
You got it?
No.
That would be Ole Miss.
No.
I was going to actually say
Tobeawaka, Arizona.
Arizona, that's right. I should have got that one.
Tobe silently has done what he was doing at Tennessee, which is a good thing for him. The money paid off, yes. Shout out to Tobe. They were bragging on him on the broadcast, too.
And then one other one, we'll see which you can get this one first. Iona, Florida Atlantic, Belmont, Florida, Washington State.
Florida!
Is that it?
And that's the show.
It's Florida. There.
Iona. Oh, welcome to the SEC, Sean Miller.
Yeah.
I didn't get to say that yesterday.
Who's Sean Miller? He played for Florida?
Ramon.
It's
the new Texas coach.
New Texas coach. Was at Arizona.
From Xavier.
Yeah. I covered him when he was
I didn't
over
get that
at
drop.
Arizona.
Look, UT Junior don't fall on my algorithm like that.
Maybe we see some sweaty shirts, on the sideline.
Oh, we will.
That's what he does? He sweat through?
God. Go online and look this up. It's hilarious.
Oh, I had no
He'll
idea.
sweat right through a clean white button up.
Thankfully, they don't wear suits anymore in college basketball.
That's true,
unless
too.
you're an Italian old school coach like Calipari or Patino.
Yeah.
An A&M's coach.
And Buzz Williams is in like
Buzz.
a 20-piece suit.
Love that.
I love that.
Mayor Ron asked for a shout out for Carlin Pickens, who threw a 78-mile-an-hour fastball yesterday for Tennessee softball.
If you want
to throw fastballs, go to
That's
Tennessee.
so legit,
Ben
man.
Joyce and Carlin Pickens. Back at it tomorrow morning. We are scouting inside linebackers with Rhett Bryan tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Looking forward to that. And looking forward to words of wisdom from Ramon Foster as well.
Big fun. Good people. Y'all must remember your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.